Prologue. I watched as he held her hand and stared into her eyes with such admiration. "I love you, Rosanna," he said to my mother at the end of his vows, and her smile grew another step wider. Rolling my eyes in irritation, I looked down towards my phone and played Sims Freeplay to drive my attention from this disastrous wedding. "Put the phone down or I'll take it away tonight." My mother's voice rang out to me via our mind link, and I slammed my phone down onto my lap, making the two people sitting beside me on each side look at me. "Mind your business," I grumbled lowly, and they turned their heads. As I put up my head, I saw they were kissing, and I felt a twinge of jealousy and anger flow through me. My wolf also growled at the sight, but I don't know why. Why did I hate my mother for kissing my new stepdad? I shouldn't even care, but I do. All those nights she brought him to the house for dinner, I hated it when she touched him. All those nights he came over for quality time, I hated it when he would cuddle up with her and not with me. I pushed my jealousy aside and clapped with the other guests as my mom and stepdad walked back down the aisle with huge smiles on their faces and their fingers intertwined. Releasing a low growl, I looked around me to make sure no one heard, then went back to glaring at the newlyweds. I should be the one he looks at that way, not her, but what can I do? And what the hell am I saying? Probably my hormones, I reassured myself as the reason for my confusing feelings for the devilishly handsome Richard Blaze, aka stepdad. These feelings would probably go away as time progressed, right? He looked my way, holding my gaze, which was already on him. The way he looks at me is like he knows. Like he knows how I feel. Suddenly, he tore his gaze from mine, and I whimpered quietly at the loss of the minimal contact between us. Obviously, he would never feel that way about me. My mother, not me. My mother gestured for me to come to her, and I pushed past the people crowding around them and made my way over to her. She beamed at me, and I couldn't help but smile back. Mom was finally genuinely happy since my real dad, her mate, died. No matter what type of unknown feelings I had for Richard, they would go away in time, but all that mattered right now was her happiness. "Stand by Richard, Danica," she told me, and I reluctantly moved over to him, plastering a fake smile on my face as a photographer took our pictures. Now and again, I felt eyes burning holes into the side of my head, and when I finally looked up, Richard was staring at me, then turned his head back to the front, smiling. "What is he?" "Look forward, miss," the photographer said to me, and I mumbled an apology, then faced front, smiling as well. "Okay, now just the bride and groom." "Miss, can you move please?" I moved away, standing next to the photographer while he took pictures of Richard and my mother. Suddenly, I saw him draw my mother closely to him, pressing their lips together in a kiss. My anger flared, but I held back my growl as it threatened to make itself heard. Looking away, I moved to the back of the crowd so that no one would see me, as their eyes were all fixed on the newlywed couple. I wiped my teary eyes. God, why did this bother me so much? Chapter 1, Birthday. 2 years later. Biting down on my apple while I approached my front door, I bobbed my head slowly to the song Hero by Kid Cudi and Skylar Grey. School was a drag as usual. I wasn't one to be bullied or anything like that. It's just always depressing to me. Entering my front door, I shut it quietly to avoid gaining my mom's attention if she was home, or his. Since Richard married my mother, I've avoided them as much as I could for 2 years now. Believe me, I love my mother more than life, but I can't stand seeing her and Richard together. It's always bothered me, since they started dating, from the wedding to this very day, it still gets under my skin like nothing else. Richard and I barely spare each other more than 20 words each per day, if not 10, but our moments of intense gazing are always shared. My feelings for him have grown so much stronger over these couple of years, and I'm afraid as to why they haven't gone away yet. I always deemed it as a high school girl crush type of thing, but this feels so wrong. I dropped my bag near the door entrance and proceeded to the living room to catch up on my Empire shows, but the thought, feeling, and mood for anything Empire left me as my eyes set on the scene before me. Richard was sitting on the couch with my mother on his lap, the two sharing a very passionate kiss. I growled loudly as anger flared in me as well as a huge amount of jealousy. "Danica," my mom yelled out, breaking their kiss and scattering off his lap. "I'm sorry, sweetie. We." She trailed off, looking down at her hands, blushing up a storm. Thank God she didn't think my growl was anything more than what she assumed, a growl of irritants at the sight. Calming down myself the best I could, I shot her a fake smile, something I had learned to do to perfection after all this time of living a lie about my true feelings. "It's all right, Mom. I was actually about to go for a run," I said. A run definitely would be good right now. Freeing my wolf for a few hours, running out all my stresses and freeing me of them, at least for a little while, is what I surely need right now. My eyes trailed over to Richard, who was standing behind my mother in silence, fixing his clothes while his gaze was also on me. "Oh, but what about your birthday party?" she asked, and I cringed. I forgot my own birthday, which is no big deal, anyway. The only thing I couldn't wait for was the fact I'd find my mate, and he'd free me from these out-of-place feelings for my stepfather. "I'll be back in time for it," I replied quickly, eager to leave the awkward atmosphere. "Okay, sweetie, but be careful," my mom said and blew me a small kiss. I caught it and placed the imaginary kiss on my chest, then blew her one back before turning my back to leave. "Keep your guard up, Danica," his smooth, husky voice said, sending shivers down my spine. I burst out through the front door, heading towards the thick woods and stripped of my clothing, leaving them in a nearby stump, then shifted into my dark red wolf. Shaking out my thick, shiny fur, I then jetted into the forest, admiring the feel of the wind through my coat and on my face. Running in my wolf form, as always, made me feel a sense of calm that I couldn't get from anything else. It made me feel free, like I had nothing to worry about. No awkward home to go Toto, no unexplainable feelings that I feel I should have a reason for or explain. I just felt free. I came to a large, open field filled with white daisies and white roses. I often came here when I was younger after my father died. To scream, cry, and let out any emotion that I didn't want to express in front of my mother. It became my little safe haven, and it still is. Doing a quick scan of the area, just as a precaution to make sure no rogue wolves were around, I then lay down and rested my head between my paws and let my thoughts take over. I can't keep my true feelings for Richard to myself any longer if they won't go away. But what kind of daughter would I be if I ruined my mother's marriage? I could play it out for a while longer. This is the last year of high school after all, and I planned on moving out. The distance between him and me would surely do me good. I hope. With all my thinking, I didn't realize I had fallen asleep in my haven. I felt a body nudge mine, but I let out a small, threatening growl, then tried to continue with my nap until I was nudged harder. I bolted up, baring my teeth at whoever it was. A large gray and silver wolf stood before me, looking at me with amused eyes, and I felt myself heat up as I realized who it was. "Richard, what do you want?" I asked through the link, and he chuckled. "Your mother was getting worried, so I came to look for you. Tracked your scent here," he replied, then nodded his head to a fresh tank top and jean shorts near his paw. "Shift," he requested, and I wanted to roll my eyes so badly, but I ignored my temptation and picked up the clothes in my mouth, going behind a large oak tree and shifting into my human form, putting on the clothes. When I came from behind the tree, Richard was standing there in long black jeans, with his chest on full display. I tried to tear my eyes away from the sight, but I couldn't seem to. "Danica?" "Hello." Richard called out my name while snapping his fingers in my face, snapping me out of my reverie. "Wait, when the hell did he get so close?" Sorry. Let's just, yeah, I trailed off, then turned around to head home. That was until I felt Richard grab my hand, sending waves of tingles up my arm. "Danica," Richard whispered as he tilted his head back, with his elongated teeth showing. In the blink of an eye, I was pinned against the soft forest floor with Richard leaning over me. "You smell so good," he whispered, his face close to my neck, making me gasp. His canines grazed my neck, the exact spot my mate's mark would reside. Suddenly, he pushed himself off of me, almost like I had burned him, and I looked up to see Richard pinching the bridge of his nose. "Party is starting soon, let's go," he said, then started to walk ahead in the direction of my house. What the hell was that? Chapter 1, Birthday. 2 years later. Biting down on my apple while I approached my front door, I bobbed my head slowly to the song Hero by Kid Cudi and Skylar Grey. School was a drag as usual. I wasn't one to be bullied or anything like that. It's just always depressing to me. Entering my front door, I shut it quietly to avoid gaining my mom's attention if she was home, or his. Since Richard married my mother, I've avoided them as much as I could for 2 years now. Believe me, I love my mother more than life, but I can't stand seeing her and Richard together. It's always bothered me, since they started dating, from the wedding to this very day. It still gets under my skin like nothing else. Richard and I barely spare each other more than 20 words each per day, if not 10, but our moments of intense gazing are always shared. My feelings for him have grown so much stronger over these couple of years, and I'm afraid as to why they haven't gone away yet. I always deemed it as a high school girl crush type of thing, but this feels so wrong. I dropped my bag near the door entrance and proceeded to the living room to catch up on my Empire shows, but the thought, feeling, and mood for anything Empire left me as my eyes set on the scene before me. Richard was sitting on the couch with my mother on his lap, the two sharing a very passionate kiss. I growled loudly, as anger flared in me as well as a huge amount of jealousy. "Danica!" My mom yelled out, breaking their kiss and scattering off his lap. "I'm sorry, sweetie. She trailed off, looking down at her hands, blushing up a storm. Thank God she didn't think my growl was anything more than what she assumed, a growl of irritants at the sight. Calming down myself the best I could, I shot her a fake smile, something I had learned to do to perfection after all this time of living a lie about my true feelings. "It's all right, Mom. I was actually about to go for a run," I said. "A run definitely would be good right now. Freeing my wolf for a few hours, running out all my stresses and freeing me of them, at least for a little while, is what I surely need right now." My eyes trailed over to Richard, who was standing behind my mother in silence, fixing his clothes while his gaze was also on me. "Oh, but what about your birthday party?" she asked, and I cringed. I forgot my own birthday, which is no big deal, anyway. The only thing I couldn't wait for was the fact I'd find my mate, and he'd free me from these out-of-place feelings for my stepfather. "I'll be back in time for it," I replied quickly, eager to leave the awkward atmosphere. "Okay, sweetie, but be careful," my mom said and blew me a small kiss. I caught it and placed the imaginary kiss on my chest, then blew her one back before turning my back to leave. "Keep your guard up, Danica," his smooth, husky voice said, sending shivers down my spine. I burst out through the front door, heading towards the thick woods and stripped of my clothing, leaving them in a nearby stump, then shifted into my dark red wolf. Shaking out my thick, shiny fur, I then jetted into the forest, admiring the feel of the wind through my coat and on my face. Running in my wolf form, as always, made me feel a sense of calm that I couldn't get from anything else. It made me feel free, like I had nothing to worry about. No awkward home to go Toto, no unexplainable feelings that I feel I should have a reason for or explain. I just felt free. I came to a large, open field filled with white daisies and white roses. I often came here when I was younger after my father died. To scream, cry, and let out any emotion that I didn't want to express in front of my mother. It became my little safe haven, and it still is. Doing a quick scan of the area, just as a precaution to make sure no rogue wolves were around, I then lay down and rested my head between my paws and let my thoughts take over. I can't keep my true feelings for Richard to myself any longer if they won't go away. But what kind of daughter would I be if I ruined my mother's marriage? I could play it out for a while longer. This is the last year of high school after all, and I planned on moving out. The distance between him and me would surely do me good. I hope. With all my thinking, I didn't realize I had fallen asleep in my haven. I felt a body nudge mine, but I let out a small, threatening growl, then tried to continue with my nap until I was nudged harder. I bolted up, baring my teeth at whoever it was. A large gray and silver wolf stood before me, looking at me with amused eyes, and I felt myself heat up as I realized who it was. Richard. What do you want? I asked through the link, and he chuckled. Your mother was getting worried, so I came to look for you. Tracked your scent here. He replied, then nodded his head to a fresh tank top and jean shorts near his paw. Shift. He requested, and I wanted to roll my eyes so badly, but I ignored my temptation and picked up the clothes in my mouth, going behind a large oak tree and shifting into my human form, putting on the clothes. When I came from behind the tree, Richard was standing there in long black jeans, with his chest on full display. I tried to tear my eyes away from the sight, but I couldn't seem to. Danica? Hello. Richard called out my name while snapping his fingers in my face, snapping me out of my reverie. Wait, when the hell did he get so close? Sorry. Let's just, yeah, I trailed off, then turned around to head home. That was until I felt Richard grab my hand, sending waves of tingles up my arm. Danica, Richard whispered as he tilted his head back, with his elongated teeth showing. In the blink of an eye, I was pinned against the soft forest floor with Richard leaning over me. You smell so good, he whispered, his face close to my neck, making me gasp. His canines grazed my neck, the exact spot my mate's mark would reside. Suddenly, he pushed himself off of me, almost like I had burned him, and I looked up to see Richard pinching the bridge of his nose. Party is starting soon, let's go, he said, then started to walk ahead in the direction of my house. What the hell was that? Chapter 2, ready? I hopped out of the shower and walked into my bedroom. Checking the time, I realized I only had about 30 minutes before the clock struck 12 o'clock, marking the beginning of my birthday, my party, and the reveal of who my mate is. I couldn't wait to find my mate and be rid of these feelings for Richard once and for all. It was becoming too much. Surprisingly, I was able to ignore it. Scratch that. I avoided it for 2 years, but now I can't. It's too much, and eventually, I can see myself giving in and doing something I know I'll regret. I slipped on my bra and panties, not really caring whether they matched or not, then went digging around my closet for an outfit. Oh boy, this is going to be a while. 20 minutes later. I double-checked my outfit in the mirror and nodded in confirmation. It was all right. I put on a black midi dress that ended just above my knees, some gold bangles on each hand, my black studs, and my 5-inch black heels. Dresses aren't really my thing, although I own a lot of them. I never wear them simply because I find them uncomfortable and irritating to walk in. I sprayed some perfume on myself, grabbed my phone, and stuffed it into my purse, then left my room and made my way downstairs. The party was outside because the inside of my house didn't have enough room to fit my pack plus 2 other ones. Can you imagine how messy that would be? I stood in front of the front door, hesitant to open it. I checked the time on the wall clock. 60 seconds before 12 o'clock. To say I was nervous was an understatement. Meeting my mate for the first time, if I even find him, that is, but I have a strong feeling he's here. My wolf side is feeling more powerful than my human side, which indicates to me that my mate is, in fact, present tonight. Will he like me? I sure hope so. I don't think I'd survive being rejected. 5. Deep breaths, Danica. No need to be afraid. 4. You've been waiting forever for this. 3. Just remember. 2. That no matter what happens tonight, mate or no mate, or rejected or not, I won't run and I won't back down. Chapter 3, Him? I pushed open the front door and was greeted by hundreds of smiling faces. Happy birthday, Danica. A grin found its way onto my face, and I ran into the large swarm of people and attempted a group hug, but failed miserably because of my short arms. Happy birthday, sweetie. I heard a voice say behind me, and I turned around to see that my mom had tears in her eyes. Thank you, Mommy, I said and went over to her, engulfing her in a hug. This party looks awesome, I added as I pulled away. I'm glad you like it, Danny. It took some work, but you know I'll do anything for you. I was just thinking, Mom said with a sad smile as the tears she was obviously holding back came down on her cheeks. How proud your father would be to see you right now. She finished after a while, then broke out in a sob. I know, I miss him too. I added sadly and rapidly blinked my tears away. Every day I thought about Daddy and what things would be like if he were here. Mom would be with her rightful mate, and we'd be a real family instead of Richard being here and me having these uncontrollable feelings. Wait, where is Richard? I'll be back in a bit, sweetie. Don't worry about me. I'll go clean up and be down soon. Go have fun. Find your mate. Mom said with a wink at mate, and I blushed. I couldn't sense my mate that strongly anymore, so that means he probably went to the other side of the yard. I'm sure he is still here. I feel it even if it is faint. Despite my excitement to find my mate and enjoy the party, I couldn't help but wonder about Richard. I haven't seen him since I came out, and I didn't see him in the house. You know what? Forget him. This is my night, and I'm going to make the best of it. It was about 3 a.m. now, and most of the people here were either drunk beyond my own comprehension or passed out in my house. I'm surprised my mom hasn't shut it down yet. Normally, any party she plans, she shuts it down before it gets too messy, and by the looks of my lawn right now, you'd think a bunch of wild animals lived here. Werewolves party hard, and I am not even kidding when I say that. I am yet to pinpoint my mate, but he is close. I feel my wolf squirming. You see, to find out who your mate is, you have to lock eyes or touch each other to know, but both persons must be 18 or over to feel the connection of the pull. Do you know how funny it would be to have your mate in your face daily and not even know until you're 18? Crazy, right? I was beginning to get frustrated. At some point, I even had the idea of walking around and bumping into every male I saw until I found him, but that would probably take me hours. Having fun, Missy? A friend, or more like an acquaintance, Veronica, came up to me and asked, but she is obviously really drunk if she is even talking to me. Hell, the only type of conversation I've ever had with her is when she asks me for homework answers in class. Yup, I replied briefly, and then she walked, scratched that, stumbled away into the arms of her mate, another acquaintance of mine, Jules Wayne. Jules wasn't so bad, he's actually a good guy. However, I'm not the type to make friends, so I stick to my hi, hello routine, and then it's pretty much ignoring your existence afterwards. Looking around the vast numbers of drunken wolves, I searched for my mate, but only to come up empty-handed. God, how hard is it to find one person? Eventually, my mind wandered to Richard again. He may not be my favorite person, but damn, he owes me a happy birthday. I took a deep breath, trying to single out Richard's scent out of the dozens around me. It was a few moments till I got it, and it led me to the house, but I figured he was maybe getting more drinks or something, so I let him be. Okay, y'all. The DJ boomed through the microphone, almost startling me. Guys grab a lady, ladies grab a man, and let me see you wolves out there. Get down to this. The song Body on Me by Rita Ora and Chris Brown came on, and I felt a surge of energy come through me. I had to dance to this. Shaking my hips side to side, I made my way to the crowd of wolves who were dancing with their mates or just amongst each other. Can I have this dance, birthday girl? I heard a deep voice whisper in my ear. At first, I was hesitant, but I figured since I can't find my mate yet, it wouldn't hurt to dance for a little while. Hell, it's my birthday, I deserve to have a little fun. I grabbed the person's arm and brought their body closer to mine. Moving to the music, I felt him move in sync with me, our bodies swaying together in our movements. You can dance. The guy whispered in my ear while he wrapped his arm around my waist, and I chuckled. You'd be surprised, I replied and continued to dance. D-dash, the guy was cut off as he was yanked away from me abruptly. I spun around fast enough to see who pulled him off, and when I locked eyes with the stranger, my entire world came crashing down around me. Richard looked away from our gaze and glared at the guy I was dancing with, whom I identified as the beta of one of the packs that came to my party. I watched in shock as Richard sped into the house, the door slamming behind him. Rage flooded my system, and I swear I could see red. I can't believe him. I'm sorry, my stepdad is a little overprotective. I'm gonna go talk to him, have fun, find your mate maybe. I said, adding a wink to the last part, and he nodded while laughing. I stomped to the house and opened the door, then closed it. Richard, I yelled. The music was loud outside, and since about 99% of the wolves here are drunk, their heightened senses are bound to be a little off. With hearing no reply from him, I tracked his scent to the guest bedroom upstairs. Damn it. I listened to his voice yell from the room as I walked up the stairs, followed by the crashing sound of something breaking. What the hell? Is he mad? He has no reason to be freaking mad. I took a few calming breaths, then pushed open the door to the room, ignoring the obvious mess on the floor. You knew, didn't you? I asked, awaiting his answer. Richard paced the room, avoiding eye contact with me and muttering to himself. Richard. He wasn't answering me, so I repeated his name once again, but still no answer. I felt my anger flare, and my claws started to grow longer from my rage. Richard. I yelled, and his head snapped up to face me, looking me directly in the eyes, and the pull from our bond made itself very much known. Why didn't you tell me you were my mate? Chapter 4, Worst Birthday. This birthday has to be the worst of my life. Hell, it was probably the worst in all of history. Richard. My stepdad is my freaking mate, and he is married to my freaking mother. Right now, I watched angrily as Richard and my mom cuddled up on the couch during our family movie night. I can't believe him. All this time, he knew. All this time, when he was going on dates with my mom, kissing her and being with her. Oh my God, I cannot believe this. I felt like crying. My heart was breaking every time I glanced at them. Mom looked content and happy, snuggled up against him. This is why I decided not to tell her. Yet, anyways, you don't know how bad she was after Dad died. She was beyond definition as a wreck. How many nights she was in despair or cried for hours before she fell asleep. I was there for her through all of that, and I refuse to let her reach that low again, even if she has to be happy with what is mine. I could reject him and let them be. But that won't stop the pain I'll feel from seeing him every day. Everything all right, honey? I felt my mom's hand on my shoulder, and I looked at her to see a concerned look on her face. Yeah, Mom, I'm fine. Well, you're crying. The movie isn't that sad, sweetie. She added with a chuckle. My hand went up to my face subconsciously, and I wiped my eyes. God, I didn't even realize I was crying. How am I going to do this? Oh. Haha, just felt a little sad for John that Savannah married someone else. He really cared about her and waited for her, but she went ahead and got with someone else, knowing it would hurt him. I said, and I saw Richard stiffen slightly as he got the message behind my words. Maybe she didn't have a choice. He added, not making eye contact with me, and I shook my head slowly. There is always a choice. People just love to play victim and act like they don't have one. Richard didn't say anything in reply to what I said because he knew I was right. He had a choice. He could have told me when he found out and spared me the pain I've been feeling all these years, but no, he willingly lied to me and let me hurt seeing him with my mother. I will never forgive him for what he did. Well, Mom began after a moment of silence. Maybe if we finish the movie, we can see why she dash. I'm going to bed. I rudely said, cutting her off. I felt a twinge of guilt for snapping at her. She didn't know what was going on. It isn't her fault. I mumbled a good night and got up without waiting for a reply from either of them, heading to my room. As I trudged up the stairs, my built-up emotions took over and I silently sobbed. How could he do this to me? How could any man put his mate through this type of pain willingly? My human half despised Richard, but my wolf side craved him. For him to touch me, hold me, and make the pain go away. But it will never go away because he is the one causing it. Opening my bedroom door, I pushed it to close and flopped down on my bed, but then it dawned on me. I didn't hear the door shut. His scent hit me like a pile of bricks, and I felt like crying all over again. Go away, Richard, I said with an added sniffle. Danica, please, let me explain. I shot up from my bed and stood before him, my arms crossed, and I was seething. My mood shifted, I know, but is he being serious? Okay, Richard. Give me your pathetic excuse as to why you lied to me all these years. Why you knew I was your mate since the moment we first met and said nothing. Why you watched me literally go for days and weeks in agony because you know I felt a connection between us. I just didn't know we were mates. Do you think I deserve this? Do you think my mother deserves this? She has been through too much, Richard, and you are playing her just like you played me. You are a selfish person, and I can't wait till I get the strength to reject your worthless self. The words poured out of my mouth like I was drinking water, and for a moment, I didn't realize what I said. Could I actually reject him? Rejecting your mate is the hardest thing any wolf would have to do besides their first shift. You would be cutting all ties from your other half, severing the mate bond, and the pain you will feel from that will be like no other. But do I have a choice? Like I said before, there is always a choice, but I won't put my mother through pain and let her fall back into despair. You have to be in my situation to understand where I'm coming from. I love her deeply, and I would do anything to keep her happy, even if it means sacrificing my own happiness. She is all I have left. I didn't have a choice, Danica. I was surprised even to find you at all. I went through most of my life searching for my mate, and I never found her, but I guess she just wasn't born yet. He said with a slight chuckle, but I was in no mood to laugh. I couldn't tell you we were mates. You were 16, Danica. 16. I was 37. Think about how that would look. I didn't think you would even believe me. And your mother. I didn't want to be with her after I first met you, but I had to stay because if I left, then I didn't know if I'd ever see you again. Danica, I had no intentions of letting you suffer. I wasn't even aware you felt the pull. You never said anything to me. I laughed dryly. Yeah, I'm going to my stepdad and tell him I've had feelings from the moment we met, with no explanations whatsoever. That made no sense to me. I was a kid. I don't care what you think was right or what was assumed or whatever. The point is, you should have said something, whether or not I'd believe you. That doesn't mean you stay quiet and keep something as huge as this to yourself, Richard. You could have avoided the situation right now if you had just said something. Richard ran his hand through his thick locks and sighed, obviously frustrated. I'm sorry. I rolled my eyes and wiped my tears. You knew it was going to hurt me, but you did it anyway, so I don't care about you or your apology. Get the hell out of my room. He sent me a hurt look, then reluctantly left my room, closing the door behind him. My legs felt wobbly, and my shoulders shook as a heart-wrenching sob took over me, and I fell to the floor. Talk about a messed-up life. Chapter 5 Fancy Seeing You Again. I sat on the moist forest floor and exhaled heavily after holding my breath for so long. Meditation. The night after Richard left, I looked up meditation and decided to give it a try. It has helped some people and is said to be very calming. So here I was, doing this to gain control over my emotions. The very emotions my excellent mate, note the sarcasm, has set within me. Richard. The very thought of him brought tears to my eyes, but I decided to be strong. Strong for myself, or at least try to be. Taking another deep breath and shaking the tears that threatened to fall, I shut my eyes tight and focused on the sounds around me. The rustle of the leaves and the soft sounds of the grass swaying in the breeze were all very calming. My limbs started to feel slightly tense, and I knew what I needed to do. Shift. Standing up, I sniffed the air as a double-checking procedure to be sure I was alone, and I was. I then stripped off my clothes, laying them down on the grass and shifted into my wolf. I shook out my fur and let out a small yelp, then lay back down. Honestly, I didn't feel the need to run or move around much. My body just felt like being in this form and staying that way. A werewolf's wolf form is the most comfortable form to be in. It's like the most genuine part of yourself, well, to any werewolf that is. A slight pressure came from the back of my head. Someone was trying to link me. I let down my walls and waited for whoever it was to speak. Where are you, Danica? My mom's voice rang in my head, and I sighed in relief that it wasn't him. I'm in the forest, Mom. I replied dully. For a moment, she didn't say anything, so I was about to put my walls back up, but then, can you come home to help me start dinner, please? We have guests tonight. I chopped up some seasoning and added it to the pot, followed by the chicken and potatoes. I think I can handle it from here. Thanks for helping, sweetie. My mom shot me a weak smile, and I nodded and turned to leave the kitchen, but was stopped by my mother grabbing my arm. We should do something later, Danny, if you want. I feel like we aren't as close as we used to be. Mom had a sad smile on her face, and it broke my heart. I've been spending less time with them since their wedding to avoid Richard. It wasn't fair to her, even though a part of me despised her for marrying my mate, but that was the wolf part of me. Even though I was having an internal battle within myself for what I felt, I knew deep down I could never hate my mother for something she had no control over. I could spend time with her later. This would be a good opportunity to get her hints on how she'd react when I tell her about Richard and me. Well, if I tell her. I'm still at odds about this. Sure am. Rosanna. Baby, the guests are almost here. I slowly shut my eyes and willed the tears away as his voice filled the kitchen. Richard swiftly entered the kitchen and paused by the door as he saw me and my mother. Oh, how awkward is this? He cleared his throat and looked everywhere but me, making me feel slightly more hurt that he couldn't even keep eye contact with me after what he did, but you know what? Screw it and screw him. Did I disturb something? He asked. I scoffed and yanked my hand out of my mom's grasp. No, you didn't, Richard. I spat out his name in disgust. Mom, I'm going to get ready. I brushed past him, ignoring the sparks I felt between us. Danica, don't be so rude to Richard. Mom yelled out to me, and I stopped dead in my tracks as anger took over me. He isn't my dad, so I don't care, I said, then continued my walk to my room. Now I'm going to dread going to this damn dinner, and I don't even know who's coming over. Danica, the guests are here. Come down as soon as you're ready. All right, Mom. I added the finishing touches to my makeup, which was my eyeliner and nude lipstick. Satisfied with my look and my knee-length white dress with my nude heels and gold earrings, I opened my door and stepped out, only to hit my head against a chest. What the hell? I said and looked up to see a familiar face. Hey, birthday girl. The person said, and I recognized his voice immediately. Beta? I asked stupidly as I realized I didn't know his name. He chuckled. It's Aiden. Nice to see you again, birthday girl. I rolled my eyes playfully and slapped his arm. It's Danica, genius, and why are you here? I know your name, sweetheart, and I'm here on some dinner with my parents, Aiden said, obviously irritated. I began to laugh softly at his facial expression, but then I stopped when it finally hit me. Oh, I'm guessing our parents must be friends. This will be interesting. He added with a wink. Why were you even up here? I asked as we walked down the hall side by side. Aiden shrugged. I took your scent, so I came to see if you actually lived here. We never really spoke after your stepdad almost ripped my arm off at the party. He rubbed his shoulder with a scowl on his face. I'm so sorry about that. He's just overprotective of me. I explained. Well, it technically isn't a lie. It's all right, baby doll. Dads will be dads. Yeah, but he isn't mine. I mumbled so softly that there was no way he could hear me. We chatted until we got to the dining room. There sat at the table my mom, Aiden's mother, father, and Richard, who sniffed the air and his head snapped up to Aiden and me, who were still standing side by side. Richard was glaring hard at Aiden, who seemed unbothered by the death glare he was receiving. This is going to be one hell of a night. Chapter 6. Dinner Disaster. So, Beta Aiden, how has our pack been treating you so far since you've arrived? Aiden shifted in his seat next to me and looked up at my mom with a gorgeous smile. Well, first off, ma'am, you can just call me Aiden, and it's been good. I mean, I have just been mainly doing perimeter checks with your Alpha and Beta to get a good enough pattern collection of when and why these rogues disturb your pack, so I haven't had much time to socialize. Honestly, you were the first to actually reach out to me. Let me clarify a few points in case you're confused. Aiden, his Alpha, and a few other members of his pack are still visiting mine since my birthday party to help with a little rogue situation. It's never major, but our guards keep sensing rogues, and we can never pinpoint them. So, Aiden and his pack are helping us. Now, we're having dinner with him and his parents while Richard is sending him death glares from across the table. Richard, you okay, honey? My mom, as she laid her hand on top of his, and I looked away to avoid seeing the sight. Aiden nudged my arm, and I glanced at him. He tapped the side of his head, and I nodded briefly as he created a mind link between us. Everything all right, birthday girl? Yeah, of course. I replied to Aiden, trying my hardest to believe my own lie. What are you two mind linking about? Richard asked as he took a hard swig of his wine. I looked at him and sent him a piss-off look, but of course, Richard ignored it and sent me a fake smile. Oh, Aaron, aren't the two of them cute? You know, sweetie, Aiden would have been lucky to have a sweet girl like you for his mate. Aiden's mom squealed as she clapped her hands. Mom, Aiden said in a warning tone and pinched the bridge of his nose. I giggled and nudged his shoulder, then sent a wink his way. Rachel, stop embarrassing the boy. Auden's father, Aaron, said with a smirk. I felt the table shake as Richard's fist went onto it with brutal force. All of our eyes went to him, and he chuckled dryly. Pesky mosquitoes, he mumbled. Oh, speaking of mates, my mom added and looked to me with a smile. Did you ever find yours, honey? I forgot to ask. My breath hitched, and I found it hard to breathe again. How the hell do I answer this? Oh, yeah, Mom, and he's your freaking husband? Like that, the answer would be practical. I can't say that to her in front of Aiden and his family. This is a private business, and besides, I doubt this would be a good time anyway, despite having company. Richard looked at me with pleading eyes, and I knew he'd probably link me right now if he could, but I put my walls up. I plastered a fake smile on my face and shook my head. No, I didn't, Mom. The words made me feel like throwing up, but I kept a calm facade and tried to sell my lie. Richard, on the other hand, was obviously seething on the other side of the table, but I only knew because I could feel his anger through our link. His face was as calm as could be and also slightly relieved, and I just wanted to claw his freaking face off. Ah, sweetie. Well, don't worry, you'll find him soon enough. My mom consoled me, and I nodded and drank some of my juice. Don't worry, Danica. When you find your mate, he's going to love you so much, and you both will be happier than ever. Rachel said to me as she smiled at her mate. The amount of love that radiated off both of them alone made me feel like crying more than her words. Enough about this. Time for dessert. You guys ready? I changed the topic swiftly, and everyone nodded. Standing up, I took my plate and Aiden's as well as Rachel's and carried them to the kitchen. Help Danica, Richard. I heard my mother mumble, and I cussed silently. The kitchen swung open, and his scent invaded my nostrils more than oxygen itself. I set the plates down on the counter, and soon a second pair joined mine as he copied my actions. Danica. No, Richard. Don't. I don't want to hurt you like this. He whispered. You may not want to, but you're free to shove it and get away from me. Danica, please. You're my mate, I love you, and the last thing I want is to see you suffer like this. But what choice do we have? Richard whispered again to me, hoping to avoid being heard by anyone. Times like these are when enhanced hearing is particularly challenging. I faced Richard and rolled my eyes. Allow me to get you a dictionary, so you can find out the meaning of love. Richard, we wouldn't be in this position if it wasn't for you. My voice rose near the end, and the tears escaped my eyes. What's taking you two so, Danica? What's wrong, baby? My mother came into the kitchen and rushed to my side, but I pushed her away and ran out the back door. I was so unfocused and distraught that I couldn't even shift into my wolf. A drizzle began to fall as I ran into the forest towards my haven. The only place I could release all this pent-up frustration and pain. He loves me, he says. He has no choice, says Richard, but Richard has obviously made a choice. He made his choice to let me suffer and stay with my mother. I had also made a somewhat conscious choice, to reject him when I gained the strength and let them be, but that doesn't stop it from hurting. My heel broke and I tripped and fell. All my determination to do anything was gone. The little strength I had, gone. My heart, shredded. I sat on the cold forest floor and bawled my eyes out. I cried for my mother, myself, Richard, and I felt like that was all I could do. In this moment, I felt helpless and weak. A pair of hands wrapped around me, and I couldn't even move to fight off whoever it was. Sho, it's okay, sweetheart. I leaned into Auden's arms and continued to cry until I felt like I couldn't anymore. My entire life is a disaster. Chapter 7, I Promise. I snuggled up against the warm body next to me and sighed in content. Wait, body? I yelped loudly as I shot up from the bed and glanced down at who I was cuddling with, and I was surprised to see it was Aiden. How did he get into my room? Wait, how did I get into my room? He must have brought me here after last night. Oh God, the previous night, that was so embarrassing. I barely know him, and I was bawling my eyes out on his chest. He probably thinks I'm a weirdo or some basket case. On top of that, he might even have questions as to why I was crying last night. I can't possibly tell him. For all I know, he could run off and tell my mom or my entire pack, and my life will be 20 times what it already is. You really shouldn't overthink like that. You make a weird face. I gasped as Aiden spoke with a sexy smirk on his face. Sexy? Oh my God, now I'm going insane. You scared the shit out of me. Don't do that. I exclaimed and held my head in my palm, causing Aiden to chuckle and throw a pillow at me. Quit being such a scaredy wolf. Come here, sit. He patted the empty side of the bed next to him. Slowly, I went over and sat near the edge. Look, Aiden, about last night Sure, he said, cutting me off and pointing to his head, indicating we are linked. Richard is outside the door listening to us, so block him off, and let's talk this way. He said to me via link as he lay back with a relaxed look on his face and his hands behind his head. I sniffed the air and took a brief whiff of Richard's oaky scent. Damn snooper. Aiden, about last night. I'm sorry, I said, and he chuckled out loud. Why are you sorry? He asked and glanced at me. I shrugged and fiddled with my fingers. In some way, I felt a little intimidated by Aiden. I don't know if it was because he was of a higher rank than I, but he isn't like most betas, so why would it be that? Richard is your mate, isn't he? I froze and found myself unable to look at Aiden as his voice rang out inside my head. Oh my God, he knows. I'm finished, I'm done. I might as well hide now while I have the chance. Calm down, sweetheart. I can literally feel the fear emanating from you. I won't tell anyone. Aiden said to me, still via link with a slight smile on his face, and I almost sighed in relief. How did you find out? I asked, remotely curious. Aiden looked at me as if I were stupid. It's so bloody obvious. The way you two look at each other and the obvious tension at that table last night. I sighed heavily, lying down beside Aiden, who was staring at me intently. How could you see it so fast when my own mother hasn't even realized? Your parents didn't even see it. Aiden rolled his eyes playfully. Your mother is blind. She lost her mate, so she probably doesn't remember what a mate connection looks like. As far as my parents go, they were probably too concerned about when the dinner would be over so they could go be together. He said with an added shudder at the end, and I giggled. A smile came upon Aiden's face, and he poked my cheek. See? I can cheer you up. I'm guessing you haven't told your mom about you and Richard, right? I nodded sadly, and Aiden nudged me with his leg against mine. Hey, it's not the end of the world, Danica. I promise I won't tell anyone till you tell whoever you want yourself. We may not know each other that well, and this is probably corny as hell, he chuckled, but I'm here for you. I promise, and I always keep my promises. In this moment, I felt like crying. Something in me wanted to trust Aiden and let him in, but another small part of me wanted him to be gone and away from me. I wasn't big on socializing, so I've pretty much never had any true friends. Oh, I've had friends who became acquaintances, and now they're nothing to me. Could I trust Aiden? My eyes trailed over to the man lying next to me, and I knew I could. Maybe it was the brightness of his gray eyes or the way his smile is so contagious. Perhaps the way his entire aura just screamed to me, I won't hurt you. Thanks, Aiden, I said with a smile and hugged his arm. Anytime. I quickly let go of his arm and blushed as I realized how odd I must have been acting towards him so suddenly. I don't have swine flu or anything. Damn, he said with an adorable pout, and I laughed out loud. Please, maybe, I added and ruffled his hair. Aiden growled loudly and tackled his body onto mine, and we fell onto the floor. Aiden, I screamed out instead of in, as his body and mine met with my carpet. Don't touch the hair. He stuck his tongue out at me. My door burst open, and there stood a very pissed-off-looking Richard. I rolled my eyes and slapped Aiden's arm so he'd get off of me, but instead of doing so, Aiden held me tighter to him and growled at Richard. What's going on in here? Richard asked, and I scoffed. Get out, I stated. Richard did not attempt to move, so I repeated it. Get out. Snap. Aiden mumbled, and I smirked as Richard left my room and slammed my door shut. I asked Aiden to get off me, and he did this time. He helped me to my feet. As I fixed my shirt, I looked back at him as he sat back down on my bed. "Why were you even in bed with me?" Aiden shrugged. "I stayed with you to make sure you were okay, and I ended up falling asleep, I guess." Satisfied with his answer, I nodded, grabbed some extra clothes, and went to my bathroom. Oh, and he called out, "It's not every day I get to cuddle with a hot girl, so excuse me for seizing my chance." I shook my head, amused with his second answer, and went to take a shower. Chapter 8. Richard's POV. "What's the matter, Richard?" Rosanna asked me as she entered our bathroom, leaving the door slightly open. I ran my hand furiously through my hair as the images of that wolf growling at me while holding onto Danica replayed in my mind. What right does he have? Growling at me and touching her. My mate, Danica. She is supposed to be the one I married, the one I spend my life with. Yet, here I was spending it with her mother while she watched. It is beyond rude of me, I know, but I have no other choice. Why didn't the goddess give me a mate my own age, like every other male wolf out there? And one that isn't my stepdaughter. I know Danica hated me for what I've been doing, and I want her forgiveness. No, I need it, but it is hard enough. Now it is even harder, considering that wolf boy is getting too close to her for comfort. "I'm fine, honey," I replied. "We've been married for 2 years, Richard." "I know when something is bothering you." "Yeah, well then you would have seen I've been bothered for all of those 2 years. I muttered softly so she wouldn't be able to hear. Rosanna stuck her head out of the bathroom door and narrowed her eyes at me. "What was that?" "Nothing, Rose. Nothing." I heard her sigh and exit the bathroom while I lay back on the bed with my eyes shut. The bed dipped, and then I felt her weight settle beside me. My eyes shot open as I stared at Rosanna with a raised brow. "Maybe I can help you with that. You know, we haven't done anything since Danny's birthday, and I think it's a bit overdue," she said with a wink. I winced internally. I had avoided any intimacy with Rose since Danica found out we were mates. I mean, we were together before, and I knew Danica was my mate, but now it is different. She actually knows now, and the pull is stronger. It feels wrong being with anyone but her. Danny is my mate, but I know there is no way she is going to want anything to do with me in that way for a very long time, if at all. Maybe it wouldn't hurt. It might even help me think straight. I need a distraction to clear my head. I forced a smile at Rosanna and pulled her close. Danica's POV. "He said he loves me 'cause I'm loyal. Put none above me 'cause I'm loyal. He playing with me 'cause I'm loyal. I sang out another favorite song of mine while I made my bed. Aiden was taking a shower so he could see his parents and then do perimeter checks with my Alpha. In a way, I was sad we couldn't spend the day together. His attention was really comforting, especially with everything going on. I needed it. I had washed and dried the clothes he was wearing so he would have something to wear. I had suggested Aiden wear something of Richard's, but he said he would rather go without. As much as I knew Aiden had no issue walking around my pack in his natural form, because he is an extremely bold person, I, on the other hand, was against it. The thought of other females seeing him bothered me. Maybe I am crazy. Aiden isn't mine or my mate, so I have no right to be possessive over him or his decisions. Why couldn't I get a mate like him? One who would be there for me, protect me, and love me. But no, I had to stick with my irritating stepdad. The moon goddess really is a being of wonders, but I recalled something Aiden told me. She never makes mistakes. Every pair is paired for a reason. I wanted to believe that, I really did, but there is no reason why she would mate me with a man twice my age who is supposed to be a father figure. "Danny, can you pass me my clothes?" I turned around to see Aiden's long arms sticking out of the bathroom door, waiting for me to hand them over. Shaking my head, I stopped fixing my bed and made my way to the laundry room. "Going to get them. Hold on." As I walked down the hallway, my face began to feel hot, and my head pounded as an oncoming headache made itself known. Am I sick? Wait, that's a stupid question. Werewolves don't get sick. I pushed the sudden body change aside and went to the laundry room. I collected Aiden's clothes and walked back upstairs. As I passed Richard and my mom's bedroom, I heard a loud thump. What was that? Did she fall? I made my way to the door to check if she was all right, but I was hesitant and felt I shouldn't. As I stood in front of the door, I listened closely to see if I heard anything, but I couldn't. It was dead silent, but then I remembered my mother has soundproof walls. She could be screaming at the top of her lungs in there, and I wouldn't hear anything. My body felt tense, and beads of sweat dripped down my face and onto the floor. My hands felt clammy, and I struggled to stay on my feet. Aiden. Hallway, I muttered through the mind link. Within moments, Aiden burst out of my room and was by my side, holding my hand. Danny, what's wrong? Talk to me, come on, he coached, but I had a hard time focusing. What was happening to me? My mind was here, but it wasn't. My body felt here, but it wasn't. A sickening burn spread across my body, and I felt like screaming, but I couldn't. My neck and lower body burned like I was set on fire. I thrashed in Aiden's arms as he attempted to pick me up. The more he touched me, the more it hurt. No. Stop it. Don't touch me. I screamed. He gently put me down and stepped away. Aiden, help me. What's going on? I muttered between tears. He had such a torn look on his face. I knew Aiden wanted to help me, but he couldn't. My mother's bedroom door burst open, and I glanced up to see her looking around, frightened, as she tightened her robe around herself. Danica. Sweetheart, are you okay? She exclaimed as she kneeled beside me. The burning slowly relaxed and faded away. Then my gaze trailed over to Richard, who was behind my mother, staring down at me with a pained expression. Oh, I see. Realization dawned on me as I comprehended what was happening. I was feeling the aftermath of Richard being intimate with my mother. Ball rose in my throat, and I felt like throwing up. A sudden growl from Aiden frightened me slightly, but I brushed it off and wiped away my tears. Aiden, help me up, please. Danica? Baby, what's going on? Why are you so pale and on the floor? My mother exclaimed yet again, but the very sound of her voice was angering me more and more. Aiden gently helped me up and allowed me to lean against him for support. Danica, H. Leave me alone, mother, I replied firmly, gesturing towards my bedroom as Aiden helped me away. I could imagine how my harsh outburst probably hurt my mother, and hurting her is something I never wanted to do. But she has no idea how much she has been hurting me as well. Chapter 9, Let Me Take You Out. A few days later. I had just left school and was now heading towards the woods to Haven. The past couple of days have been indescribable. I have barely seen Aiden because, for some reason, I keep pushing him away. I stay out of the house as long as I can and avoid my mother and Richard at all costs. The thought of moving out is really crossing my mind right now. I'm 18 now and I can access the trust fund my father left for me. It would be more than enough to buy my own small house, furnish it, and so forth, and still have money left over. Of course, I don't intend to use all of it in one shot, so I'd get a job and get my life together. All I needed to do was catch up on the schoolwork I had missed, graduate, and then get out. Last night I got home pretty late, and guess who was waiting for me? Richard. He tried to talk to me, but that did not go well. Flashback. I opened my front door and stepped into my house. 2:34 am. They should be asleep by now. Where were you, Danica? Shoot. None of your business, Richard. Danica, we need to talk. He said as he walked closer to me, but I took a step back. Don't come near me. Richard sighed and stopped dead in his tracks. At least come outside. Your mother hasn't been sleeping that well. Who cares? I exclaimed and threw my hands up. You're destroying my family, Richard. Look at this. I can't even stand the sight of my own mother now, all because of you. Don't shout. He whispered and yelled at me, and I glared at him. Don't shout? Is that all you can say? After everything you've done to me? Leave me alone. I began to walk away, but he grabbed my arm, and I flinched away. Anytime he touched me, I felt the sparks and the pull even stronger than before, and I will not be weak now. I'm sorry for what I did, he said lowly. If you haven't gotten the memo, I don't care for your apologies. You knew what you did would hurt me. Every wolf knows that. How could you be so stupid? I said with disgust and hatred lacing every word I spoke. Richard's face became torn and then suddenly pissed. You don't see me saying anything when you hang out with that wolf boy. I stared at him in disbelief. You can't compare Aiden to this. At least I'm not intimate with him. Because I know you haven't felt anything. You are hurting me every single day, and Aiden has only helped me feel better. I've been pushing him away because of you. You. And he doesn't deserve that, you do, Richard. And you know something else? I reject. What's going on down here? My head snapped up to see my mother standing at the bottom of the steps with a tear-stained face. Nothing. I said with narrowed eyes at Richard. Don't do this. He said to me through our mind link, and I blocked him out immediately. Sending Richard one last stern glare, I stomped out of the room and brushed past my mother to my own room. I screamed the loudest I could as I sat in the safety of my haven. Remember, I said I used this place to release pent-up anger that I couldn't show in front of my mom? Well, this is it. This is me at my weakest, and I've never felt so alone. I miss my father so much. He would know what to do about any situation, but would he know what to do about this? I let another high-pitched scream and gripped the forest grass between my fingers. I couldn't even cry. They didn't fall, and I didn't feel them coming. Someone's angry. I jumped from my crouched position to face the owner of the voice that spoke. Aiden. What are you doing out here, Danica? He asked me. I shrugged. Screaming, as you can see. Aiden just nodded and leaned against a tree with his arms folded. I knew he must be angry that I've been pushing him away, but I swear I don't mean to. You're mad at me, aren't you? My voice cracked at the end of my words as guilt flooded my nerves. He sighed and pushed his body off the tree and slowly walked over to me. I'm not mad at you, Danny. I just don't like seeing you get hurt over this. You don't see how much I care about you. All I want to do is help, but I can't do that if you won't let me. My hands were trembling slightly, and I rubbed them together. At the moment, I didn't know what to say, so I closed the gap between us and engulfed Aiden in a hug. I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. His arms wrapped around me, and I buried my face in his chest. It's okay, Danica. We stayed like that for a few minutes, just in each other's arms, until he pulled away a little. But you know, just sorry doesn't cut it. He said with a smirk, and my eyes widened. He isn't talking about. No, he can't be, can he? No, I'm not talking about that. He reassured me, and I felt a little relieved. Then what? Aiden moved some strands of my hair away from my eyes and smiled down at me. Let me take you out. Chapter 10. Just a Dream. Oh my God. Aiden is coming to pick me up in 20 minutes, and I have no idea what to wear. My makeup isn't done. My hair is a mess. Just what the hell? In case you are wondering what is going on, I'm getting ready. Well, supposed to be finishing up by now for my date with Aiden. And yes, I said yes to him. I'm so excited and nervous at the same time. At first, I was going to say no, but then I thought to myself, I deserve this, to actually enjoy myself for once after everything that has been going on. I won't let my emotions, Richard, or anything else stop me from living my life. As I rampaged through my wardrobe and tossed dress after dress after dress on the floor, I was close to giving up. Times like this made me wish I had girlfriends to help with this kind of stuff, or any type of friend, that is. Need any help? I looked up to see my mother standing in the doorway with a hopeful look, and it made me cringe. Sure, Mama, I said lowly. Her footsteps got closer to me and my closet. I couldn't help but cringe being in the same room with her. It was beyond uncomfortable. How about this? She said and held up a cream-colored strapless dress. I stared at the dress in shock. When did I buy this? Slowly, I took it from my mother's hand and ran my hands down the soft fabric. It's perfect. My mom smiled a little and nodded, then proceeded to leave the room. Wait, Mom. I called out, and she stopped abruptly and turned to face me. Thanks, I began, for helping. Mom smiled at me and then exited my room. Well, that was awkward. I laid the dress on my bed and admired it for a few seconds, then turned to the vanity to finish up my makeup and hair. You look beautiful, sweetie. My mom complimented me as I looked over my outfit in the mirror downstairs near the hallway. My hair was straightened and curled at the end. My skin glistened from the new body lotion I had used, which was scented with lavender, and my face had light makeup. Just eyeliner and my red lipstick. "Thank you, Mama," I said with a smile. 5 more minutes and Aiden will be here. What if I trip over my heels? Spill juice on him? Okay, that last one is most likely not going to happen, but I'm nervous, okay? I've never been out on an actual date before. I wanted the first person to take me out to be my mate, but Aiden is just perfect enough. I wonder what he has planned? Is he going to wing it or something? Would he be as nervous as I am? Probably not. I bet he's been out on a date before, but it doesn't really matter who was a part of his past. All that matters is now. Well, someone looks nice. I felt my body tense as I heard his voice as he came down the stairs. She does, doesn't she, Richard? My baby's first date. I'm so happy for her. My mom said excitedly. I was glad to see her in her normal chipper state again. It sure beats seeing her looking depressed 24/7. Date? Richard asked as he paused before taking another step forward. His jaw was clenched, and he glared at me with dark eyes, but I didn't look away or back down. I looked right back at him and showed him that I didn't care at all about what he thinks or wants. Yes, honey, she has a date with that beta. What's his name again? Jaden? No, that's not it. Brayden? Aiden. I corrected my mother at her hopeless guesses, and she snapped her fingers. Aiden. That's it. He's a sweet boy, isn't he, Richard? My mom asked as she lightly tapped his shoulder, and Richard just growled softly. Richard, why are you growling? She asked, and I smirked at him, knowing damn well why he was. Rose, she isn't going anywhere, he said, and I rolled my eyes. My mother scoffed and crossed her arms. Why not? Richard looked dumbfounded for a minute, but then the expression went away. It's a school night, for Christ's sakes. Is that really it, Richard? I asked in a teasing tone, and he sent me a warning glance. Yes, he said stiffly, and I chuckled. Well, I don't care. I'm going on that date. Aiden's going to take me to dinner, and then take me dancing. Oh, dancing. He'll run his hands all over me and dash. He will not touch you. Richard bellowed, making my mom jump back a little from the little fright, but I saw it coming. What's going on with you two? She asked, but I tuned her out as Richard and I were having an intense glare down. You will not leave this house. He growled at me, and I growled right back. You don't control me. You will do as I say. He shouted, and I felt my anger flare. Go away, Richard. Know your place, because you certainly aren't in it. Am I disturbing something? My head snapped to the direction of the front door, where Aiden stood watching us with wide eyes, while I took in his outfit. He was wearing some black jeans with a gray dress shirt, and his hair combed to the side. Who knew casual could look so good? Get out/no. Richard and I said at the same time. This jerk. I walked over to Aiden and engulfed him in a hug, breathing in his coconutty scent. I'm so glad to see you. Will someone tell me what the hell is going on? My mom yelled as she came out of her trance of shock. Yeah, Richard. Why don't you tell my mom what's going on? I said with a strong voice as I let go of Aiden. He gripped my hand and entwined our fingers. I looked up at him, and he smiled at me. You got this, he said via our link, and I felt a little more courageous. This is it. I can do this. It's time. I just think Danica shouldn't be going out with a boy she barely knows, much less on a school night. Richard exclaimed, lying fluently. I gritted my teeth together. Now is the chance for him to be honest, and he lies again? What a jerk. Is that it, Richard? Because she barely knows me? Aiden said, taunting him. Richard, it's not that big of a deal. Let her enjoy herself. My mom said, still oblivious to the lies and tension floating above us in the room. Oh my gosh, Mom, are you really that blind? I blurted out before I could stop myself, and it became so quiet you couldn't even hear the sound of anyone breathing. Danica, what on earth is the matter with you? She asked, and that's when I lost it. What's the matter with me? You've been with my mate for almost 3 years now, and you are asking me that question. Richard's mouth fell open, and I felt a weight lift off my shoulders. I haven't been. Mate? Danica, you're but I've been with wait, Are you saying that? Yes, mother, I said with a roll of my eyes. Richard is my mate. Tap, tap, tap. My eyes fluttered open quickly as I studied my surroundings, only to find out I was in my room alone. No Richard, Aiden, or my mom. It was just a dream. In a way, I feel a little relaxed and angry. It seemed so real, like I had actually told her I was mates with Richard. Tap, tap, tap. Danica, come downstairs. Aiden is here. I heard my mom's voice from the other side of the door, and I got up, rubbing the sleep away from my eyes, and grabbed my purse. Quickly checking myself in the mirror, I was wearing the exact same outfit as I did in the dream. Weird. As I opened my bedroom door, I was greeted by my mom, who looked at me proudly. You wore the dress I picked, she said. Oh, I guess she really did help me do this. Of course, I replied with a grin. Come on, Aiden is waiting on you, she said and started walking down the hall with me on her tail. As we approached the steps, I took a whiff of Aiden's scent, his coconut scent, and breathed in deep. Damn, does he smell good? Hey, he said when I got down to the final step. Hey, you ready, Danny? Aiden asked as he reached for my hand and slowly locked our fingers together. I nodded and waved bye to my mom. My eyes trailed up the middle of the steps, where Richard stood quietly, watching me leave with a sad look in his eyes. I faced away from his look and shut the door behind Aiden. I have some things planned for us. If that's okay, he said softly. It's perfect. Thank you. For what? Aiden asked, and I blushed lightly. Being here for this. Even though I pushed you away for a little while, you still stayed. Thank you, Aiden. I got in his car and Aiden shut my door for me, then went over to the driver's side and started down the road. A promise is a promise, and I told you I don't break mine. You don't deserve the life you have, Danica. You need to be happy, just like every girl's needs to be, and if I can at least bring some joy into it, then I'll keep doing whatever I need to do. I was on a full-on blush by the time Aiden was done. I just peeked at him through the corner of my eye to see that he was already glancing at me, so I covered my face. I'm acting like a 10-year-old. Way to play it smooth, Danica. You should get some ZZs. It's going to be a little before we get to where we're going, and I don't want you to be tired, he said, and my curiosity was sparked. I opened my mouth about where we were going, but he beat me to it. Don't even. I pouted, and Aiden laughed as he poked my bottom lip with his finger. Put that lip back in, sweetheart. The thought occurred to me to bite his finger, but I went against it and leaned back in the seat. My eyes slowly began to droop while Aiden drove on to wherever he was taking me, but I had a feeling I'd like it. I trust him. And that was my last thought, before I drifted into the peaceful state called sleep. Chapter 11. Rosanna's POV. I'm going to take a shower, sweetheart, Richard said to me, and I smiled at him with a nod as I rolled the cookie dough. As he descended the stairs, my face immediately turned into a skull. Who in the world does he think he is? Does he honestly think I don't know what's been going on between him and Danica? And the nerve he has to play nice about it. That man has another thing coming. He probably forced her into it. My baby wouldn't fall into the antics of men so easily unless he played her, made her blind to what he is really doing. He is involved with my daughter and thinks he is slick. I've noticed how Danica and he have been acting. He's even making my baby hate me and push me away. Well, this is the last straw. As soon as Danica gets home, I'm throwing all my cards on the table. The truth will come out tonight. Richard's POV. I quickly shut the bathroom door and turned on the shower head. After waiting a few minutes, I quietly opened the window and lifted it, then climbed out. I needed to keep an eye on Danica and that wolf boy. I see what he's trying to do. He's trying to take my mate away from me. Probably, I screwed up my chances with her, but that doesn't mean I can't fix it, right? Or at least try to. As I landed on the ground, I didn't bother to take off my clothes and just shifted into my silver/gray wolf and jetted down the street, following Danica's scent as quickly as I could before it was gone entirely. Danica's POV. Danica. Leave me alone, let me sleep. I mumbled as I swatted the person's hand away. Danica. I shot up fast, only to hit my head on the rearview mirror of Aiden's car. Ow! I exclaimed and rubbed my head. Aiden chuckled and helped me out of the car while I pouted up a storm. Come on. We're here, he said and entwined our fingers while we walked by. I watched around and noticed the many houses around. It looks like a pack. Wait, a pack? Aiden, where are we? My pack, he said and pulled me towards a huge building. I froze. Some alphas are highly territorial and don't take well to people from other packs being on their land, especially if they don't know them. Don't worry, Aiden assured me. My alpha knows you're going to be here. He isn't bad, trust me. I nodded and followed close by. Some pack members who were outside stared at us as we walked by with wide eyes, and some were murmuring things. The beta has found his mate? She's very pretty. I can't wait to see the future beta babies. A bright blush crept its way onto my cheeks, and I looked down. They thought I was his mate, how ironic. As we stepped up to the large building's entrance, Aiden opened the door and let me step in first, and I couldn't believe my eyes. It was something like an auditorium, I guess I could say. White and red rose petals were scattered all over the floor, as well as candles lined up to create a lit pathway. The little path ended near a table in the center, surrounded by more petals. Aiden, I didn't know what else to say. I felt like I had lost touch with my brain for a minute. God, this is amazing. I wanted to make this special for you, Danica, he said with a smile, then kissed my hand and led me down the candlelit pathway. This is so beautiful. Oh my God, just oh my God. I stared around me in utter shock. As if I blinked, everything would disappear and I'd wake up from a dream. Well, it's obvious you like it. I was afraid you wouldn't, he said as he pulled back a chair for me to sit. What girl wouldn't like this? Are you serious? I asked as I sat down, still feeling mesmerized. Aiden just shrugged and then took his seat across from me. I have some food being prepared for us. It will be here in a bit. All right, I said as I struggled to contain my smile. I've never felt this happy in forever. I so needed this. You dance? He asked. I thought for a moment, then shook my head. Like I said, I'd never been on a date before or anything like that, so I never took a considerable interest in dancing. How about we try? He asked, and I bit my lip. I don't know, Aiden. I might fall. I added with a nervous chuckle, and he rolled his eyes at me. Wait here, he said, and swiftly got up, jogging to the other side of the room. Well, I guess it won't hurt to try. As soon as I stood up, a song began to play, and I felt immediately nervous. Aiden jogged back over to me with a smile on his face while he held out his hand to me. I hesitantly took it and tried to calm my nerves as he led me to the center of the room. The beat of the music slowly began to pick up, and I felt terribly stiff. What do I do? Relax. Just let the music in, let it take control, and let it flow. Aiden whispered in my ear as he pulled me close to him and swayed at a mid-fast pace with me to the beat. Aiden, I don't know what I'm dash. Shoo. He cut me off and stepped back, making me take steps forward with him since his hand was guiding my lower back. As the music picked up and the chorus approached, I felt a little more relaxed. At least I haven't fallen yet. Danny. Yeah? You trust me? Aiden asked, and I nodded with my head tilted slightly. Good. So shine bright tonight. You and I. You are beautiful like diamonds in the sky. Aiden gripped my waist with both hands and lifted me into the air like I weighed nothing. I squealed loudly and slapped his arms to put me down. Just let the music take you, he said again and put me down. Grabbing onto my hand, he spun me out, then pulled me back in close. His other hand rested on my back, making me shiver. He turned me around and made me face him, swaying with me as he stared into my eyes with a massive grin on his face. I blushed and rested my forehead against his chest. The build of the chorus came once more, and I knew what he was going to do, but I was ready. You're a shooting star, I see. A vision of ecstasy. When you hold me, I'm alive. We're like diamonds in the sky. I knew that we'd become one right away. Oh, right away. Once more, Aiden lifted me, and I wasn't afraid. I didn't scream. I felt free. I opened my arms wide, closed my eyes, and giggled. Now this is what happiness really feels like. The song was slowly dying down, and slowly Aiden let me down, and I opened my eyes, looking straight at him as he did the same. My arm found its way around his neck, with my other hand on his forearm. Aiden leaned in slowly, and I leaned back. Our faces were inches apart, and my heart was pounding. "You really are a diamond," he whispered as he drew closer, and I closed my eyes. Until my eyes shot open, and I looked towards the entrance to see Richard standing there in basketball shorts and black eyes. "What are you doing on this land?" Aiden asked as he released me from his hold and pushed me behind him. "You have what's mine. I want her back," Richard said as he inched near us, and Aiden stepped back, making me do the same. "Go home to your wife, Richard. Aren't you tired of making Danica suffer? She doesn't deserve this, and you don't deserve her. Get out before I show you the way out. Danica comes with me, then I'll leave. I can't change the past, and I can't change what I've been doing, but I will earn her forgiveness," Richard said, and I scoffed. "Earn my forgiveness, yeah, right? Earn her forgiveness? By doing what? By continuing things with her mother? You are not taking her," Aiden said with a loud growl at the end, and Richard chuckled. "You're forgetting that you have to bring her back anyway. Danica, please. You know I'm sorry and that I love you. Don't let him play with your head," Richard pleaded with me as he came closer to Aiden, and I shook my head in disgust. "Just leave, Richard," I said. "You two are mates?" I tilted my head to look behind Richard and saw my mother standing there, tears in her eyes. Oh no. Chapter 12. Aiden's POV. How did they get onto pack territory without being stopped? I growled at the 8 guards who were standing in front of me with their heads low. "How?" I asked again, running out of patience and growing irritated by their lack of replies. "Beta," one of the guards said, "we were on the north side of the territory, sir, tracking down a rogue scent which was abnormally close to the pack." I pinched the bridge of my nose. "And that required every one of you? Not one of you thought maybe you should stay back?" They all looked at each other but didn't say anything. "Get out of my face," I exclaimed, and they scattered. I was on edge. Danica wanted to talk to her mom, and that man alone, so she asked me to leave. Leaving her alone with an emotional mother and manipulative mate was the last thing I wanted, but she said it would link me if she needed me. I entered my office in the pack house and lay down on my couch. I really wanted to kiss her. In the end, I feel like I failed her, like I didn't protect her enough from him, but I don't know what else I can do. I'm surprised at her resistance to him. Most mates can't stand to be away from each other for more than a minute, but Danica avoids him at all costs. Well, her birthday wasn't that long ago, so the mate bond is still a bit fresh, and she isn't marked, so that's a factor too. I wonder about my mate sometimes. I still haven't found her, and now I wish I had never done it. I like Danica a lot, but that was pretty obvious, huh? She doesn't see it, though, or maybe she does, I don't know. I hope she likes me too because I want to make her happy. Happy like a mate should make her, if she lets me. But I'm not going to rush her into anything. She can have as much time as she needs to settle this problem between her mother, and Richard. I'll still be here for her. A knock on the door startled me, and at first, I thought it was Danica, but she doesn't know where my office is, and that scent isn't hers. Enter. The door opened, and a member of the pack peeked her head in. Unfortunately, she was also my ex-girlfriend. How ironic and cliché of her to pop up after she saw me with another girl. "Hey, Aiden," Miranda said as she came into my room, then shut the door. "This isn't going to be good. What can I do for you, Miranda?" She shrugged and stood beside my couch, which I was still lying on, and rubbed her hands together. "I wanted to say congratulations on finding your mate." I bit back a laugh. She knows very well that Danica isn't my mate because she and a few other members heard what went down after Richard made his appearance. This is just Miranda trying to find out information. She isn't my mate, I said with an obvious tone. "Oh," she said and sat down near my feet. I opened one eye and peeked at her. "I'm sorry, but I didn't say you could sit." Miranda threw her hands up and slammed them on her lap. "This is ridiculous, Aiden. We had something so good." "Oh no," I exclaimed and covered my face with my hands. "And we had something so strong. She isn't your mate. Why are you with her?" because I started, 1, she isn't you. 2, I don't like you anymore. And 3, why wouldn't I be with her? I was with you, wasn't I? And you weren't my mate, so what point are you trying to make? I love you, Miranda mumbled. I gave up everything for you. I didn't ask you to reject Damon for me. I shouted and swiftly got up from my lying position and glared at Miranda. Yes, she rejected her mate for me a few years back. Honestly, I felt bad for her after we broke up. Now she has no one to expect to find and get that long-lasting love from. But I did reject him, Aiden. All because I loved you. And after all this time, I still do. I sighed and rubbed the sides of my head as I felt a headache coming on. Please leave, Miranda. I heard her gasp, then sniffle, and the sound of her retreating steps, then the slam of my door told me she had left. What am I going to do with her? Chapter 13, Rejection? What the hell do you mean 2 years ago? My mother yelled in Richard's face. I had never really heard my mother cry that often, so this was quite a shock. Richard sighed and hung his head low. I've known since you first introduced me to him, he didn't have time to finish his sentence since my mom slapped him in the face. Don't hit him. I yelled before I could stop myself. What was that? Oh, must be the pull. My mother turned to face me with a stern glare and teary eyes. How long have you known Danica? How long have you been lying to me? If what you're asking is if I knew since we met, then no. He didn't tell me either. I found out on my birthday. Mom, I wanted to tell you, but I just couldn't. You couldn't? You couldn't? How could you do this to me? She screamed in my face, and I pushed her back. Shut up. Just shut up. You don't know what it's like to see your mate do romantic things with someone else right in your face? I didn't tell you because I tried to keep you happy. I tried to prevent you from going back to how you after Daddy died dash. When I mentioned my dad, she cringed. I wanted to prevent you from those desperate nights and those nights of crying. Who was there for you? Who helped you survive, Mom? Me. It was all me. Richard made you happy and I wanted you to start that way because I know you loved him. So yeah, I didn't tell you and I'm sorry, but I did it for you and it just didn't work out the way I planned. I took a deep breath after my long rant and wiped the tears away from my face. My mom stared at me for a minute, then sat down with her head on her knees, bawling. My heart broke a little. This is precisely what I didn't want to happen. Rosanna. Don't, Richard, she exclaimed. Just don't. Danica, please. He pleaded with me as he looked me in the eyes. I didn't want to hurt either one of you. I shook my head in disbelief. He was clearly guilty and still trying to play the victim card. Richard, maybe you didn't really want to hurt anyone, I admitted, but you are not stupid. You knew this was bound to happen, and you did nothing to prevent it, and I will never forgive you for that. I finished calmly. His expression held one of hurt and anguish, and it broke my heart. I mean, he is my mate. I still care about him, despite how distant I am and how much I try to avoid him. It disgusted me how deceitful he was being, so why would I let myself get close to someone like that? I heard sniffles near us and I turned my head to see my mother standing and heading for the door. Mom, where are you going? I asked, slightly worried she might do something drastic like she tried to do many times after Dad died. Just going for a run, Danica. Make sure you come home. Richard, come get your clothes because you are not staying at my house. She said then swiftly left, letting the doors bang behind her. Hey, I guess this is the end, he said humorlessly. Not yet, I said and blinked back the tears that threatened to fall. Once I do this, I won't be able to take it back. That'll be it. I'll be done. You don't mean. I nodded and picked up a knife from the table where Aiden and I were supposed to have dinner. This is how a rejection process goes down. You cut each other's palms to mix the blood, then say the words of rejection, which forces your wolves to separate from one another. In a way, it's kind of like the joining a pack ceremony, but with different words. Let's get this over with. Richard hung his head low, and for a minute, I almost wanted to kiss his pain away. Almost. Hesitantly, he took the knife and looked at it for a moment. Can I do one thing before we end this? What, Richard? I asked, annoyed. He sighed, then shrugged. I guess you can't hate me more than you already do. I furrowed my brows, confused at what he was saying, but it all became clear to me when Richard's lips were suddenly against mine, and saying I felt lost would be an understatement. Kissing your true mate is nothing like I ever thought it would be. The tingles that coursed through my body and on my lips were overwhelming. Richard's finger was under my chin, tilting my head more upwards. Just as my arms were about to wrap around his neck, I snapped out of my daze and pushed him off of me. What the hell is wrong with me? Ugh, I just let him take my first kiss. I felt disgusted with myself and weak. Jerk, I muttered, and the sound of the door quietly closing alerted my attention. Looking over, I didn't see anyone, so I assumed it was the wind, but the wind can't move a door that heavy that easily. I saw Aiden's head passing by in front of the window, and I gasped. Heck, he saw. Richard, on the other hand, was smirking widely, and I got angry. You smelled him coming, didn't you? I asked, and he shrugged with a smile on his face. Since Richard was an older male, some of his senses were more enhanced, such as his sight, hearing, and, as you can see, his sense of smell. You are such a jerk. I yelled, then grabbed the knife out of his hand. I drew the sharp blade across my palm, wincing a little, then handed it back to him. Do it. I'm done with you. He looked shocked for a moment, then shook his head. You don't want to do this, Danny. I shook my head. Yeah, I do actually, and it's Danica Monroe. You're going to need to say that when you accept my rejection. I said with a smirk, and I could see the last bit of hope he had die away. Richard stared at the knife in his hand and threw it on the ground. No, I won't do it. Stop being such a child, Richard. I rolled my eyes. You need me. I need you. Don't you see what happens to mates when they separate? You yourself saw what happened to your mother when her mate died. I cringed. My father died, that's different. It's not different because we're about to do the same thing. Severe something so precious and golden. Die to one another. I bit my bottom lip. Why does he have to make it so complicated? He can have whoever he wants after we do this. I'm sorry, he said, and I raised a brow. For what? Richard sighed and fisted his hands. This. In the blink of an eye, Richard appeared to me as a blur, result of his using his wolf speed. What the hell is he? In that moment, I felt a piercing pain in my neck, causing me to scream out in pain. I flailed my arms wildly, hitting Richard multiple times against the chest. What did you do to me? I stopped you from making a bad decision, he said. I rubbed my neck furiously as it burned like it was set on fire. I let out an ear-piercing scream mixed with a growl as my wolf side fought with my human half, almost like I was at war within my own body. My vision blurred, and I fell to my knees. I looked up to see Richard, but he was gone. I tried to call for help, but my voice wouldn't go above a whisper, and my body welcomed the darkness that took over me. Chapter 14, His Mark. I fought against the feeling to sleep some more and forced my eyes open, only to close them again due to the amount of light that flooded the room. Slowly, I opened them again, giving my eyes time to adjust to the room, then looked around. It looked like a hospital room, and it smelled like it too. I hate hospitals. Danny, you're awake. A soft voice said to me, and I identified it as my mother's. Mom. I croaked out because my throat was so dry. Here, she said, and handed me a glass of water, which was on a stand near my bed. I greedily grabbed the glass and gulped down the water. My throat felt immediately better, and I handed Mom back the glass. What happened? I asked her as I slowly sat up, noticing the 3 needles in my arm, causing me to cringe. I hate needles too. You blacked out because of the mark, Mom said, still looking kind of upset about the entire situation she had just learned about. I touched my neck subconsciously, and the place I touched hurt badly. He really did it. He marked me. Jerk. Gosh, that hurts. I mumbled and put my hand down. He marked you against your will, Mom said. That's why it hurts so much. You didn't accept it. I nodded in understanding and didn't say anything as my mind wandered to Aiden. I knew he saw Richard and me kissing. I just hoped he'd believe me if I told him it didn't mean anything, that I kissed him. But that "he kissed me" line is pretty cliché, right? Well, it's all I have for now. I'm sorry. My mom said softly, and I opened my mouth to speak, but she continued. I'm a horrible mother. How did I not see it? I've had a mate. I should have known you and Richard were mated. And I married him and, oh my goodness. I can't imagine how much that must have hurt you, Danny. How much I must have hurt you at this time. I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry. By the end, my mother was in a full-on bawling mode, and I felt like crying too. Hey, I said, and she looked at me. It's okay, Mom. It really is. We can't change the past, only work to make a better future. And I'm sorry for not telling you the truth. My mom rose from her seat near my bed and gave me a gentle hug. Aiden's scent filled my nostrils, and I peeked over my mom's shoulder to see him standing by the door. I'm so going to talk to him before he gets the wrong idea about Richard and me. Mom, can I talk to Aiden alone? I whispered in her ear, and she nodded a bit, then pulled away. Mom sent me a small smile, then exited the room, also sending Aiden a little smile. Aiden stood still by the door with his arms folded and staring at me. I feel so self-conscious. I mean, I am in the hospital and probably look like a mess. Hey, I stuttered and mentally slapped myself. How are you feeling? He asked me. I shrugged. Been better. Aiden shook his head. Forget it. He mumbled and rushed to my side, embracing me in a right hug. I was so worried about you, Danny. I thought he had hurt you or something. Aiden whispered into my hair as he held onto me tight, and I felt myself melt into his warmth. I'm okay. I thought you were mad at me. I whispered, and Aiden abruptly let me go, looking at me confused. Why would I? I looked away. I know you saw Richard and I kissing. Aiden sighed. Yeah, I saw, but I saw he kissed you, so I'm not going to stress about it. I can only imagine how good it must feel to kiss your mate, and I'm glad you got to experience that, despite the fact he was a grade A jerk. I giggled at his little insult. I regret it. I wanted you to be my first kiss. I mumbled as heat rose to my cheeks. Aiden released me from his hold and sat near my feet with a smile on his face. Really? I nodded and fiddled with my fingers. I may not be your first kiss, but I would love to be your second. Aiden inched closer to me. Third. He was now just a few inches away from my face, his eyes flicking down to my lips as he licked his own. And your last. Okay, how is the patient doing? I leaned back fast to see a doctor entering the room. Wow, again? Aiden sighed once again and got off the bed, standing next to it and nodding to the doctor as a way of saying hello. His relaxed demeanor with me was now gone, replaced by a more professional and serious one. I guess because she is a member of the pack. Betas, I swear. Oh, I interrupted something, didn't I? The doctor said with a blush. No, yes. Aiden and I replied at the same time, and I glared at him. Don't make her feel more uncomfortable, I said to him via our link, and he snorted out loud, making the doctor look at him with wide eyes. Aiden coughed awkwardly and looked around the room. Okay, well, how are you feeling, Danica? Any pains? Oh, I'm Dr. Idris. Oh, well, nice to meet you, and yeah, my neck hurts really bad when I touch it. What's going on? Is it the mark? Well, yes. You were marked against your consent, is that right? I nodded, and Dr. Idris looked at the clipboard in her hands. Well, as you should know, a marking is something that must be done with the acceptance of the receiving female. You in this case. Now, since you didn't accept your body as fighting against it, but fighting a marking is a very difficult thing to do, so it caused you to black out due to the overshock. I took in her words like a drink of water, and I felt like I was choking. I can't believe Richard would do this to me. Well, he is a slimy creep, so I should have seen this coming. Is there any way to get rid of the mark? I asked, and she nodded fervently. Well, two ways. In the early 1700s, vampire blood was used to get rid of unwanted marks by rubbing it on it. But since vampires are scarce and the procedure can also be deadly, the only choice you have to let someone mark you over the mark. Aiden coughed, and I opened my eyes wide. Someone has to mark over it? Who the heck am I going to find to do that? I mean, I would ask Aiden, but he has a mate somewhere out there, and I wouldn't want to ruin his chances with her by him marking me, no matter how much he may like me. When he finds her, he won't remember those feelings. They'll be gone. And there is no other way? I asked again just to be sure, and she shook her head. I'm sorry. Get some rest and take 2 of these pills, naproxen. It will help with the pain you might feel within the next hour or so. I nodded and took the pill bottle from her. Theta. She nodded to Aiden in respect, then left the room. Just when I thought I would have gotten my kiss. He mumbled, and I laughed. 3rd time's a charm. I winked, and Aiden burst out in a full grin. Well, that 3rd time will have to come another time. Take the pill and get some rest, sweetheart. I'll be back to check on you later, I promise. Thank you for being here, Aiden. Where else would I be? He replied, and I smiled shyly. Aiden leaned down near me and placed a lingering kiss on my forehead, then exited the room, leaving me in a blushing hot mess. Who would have thought a kiss would make me feel so baffled? I wonder where Richard went and why. He blocked me off so I couldn't link him, but I could feel his presence, so I knew he was at least alive. My hand absent-mindedly went to my mark, making me hiss in pain as it started to burn again. I'll get rid of this one way or the other. Chapter 15 Kaden. Aiden's POV. Alpha. We need to find this guy. He put her in the dang hospital. Calm down, Aiden. I have 20 trackers out there scouting for him. Whatever they find, they come back to us. Just relax. Kaden said to me and tried to lay his hand on my shoulder, but I shrugged him off. Yes, sir, I said gruffly, but Kaden rolled his eyes. Why are you always so formal with me? Because you're my alpha? I said in an obvious tone. Yeah, but I'm your brother first, Aid. Remember that. Kaden was my older brother by my father. I just feel like I'm failing her all over again. I mumbled, and Kaden's face lit up. Oh my goodness, she's the girl, isn't she? He all but screamed, and I winced at how close he was to me when he did that. Yeah, that's Danica, I said with a small smile. Look at you all whipped, Kaden exclaimed and burst out laughing, making me chuckle and shove his shoulder. I'm not whipped, I just really like this girl, Cade. Remember, you have a mate out there, Aid. You can't fall for her when you might end up hurting her all over again in the end. Who says I can't reject my mate for her? I said, and he shrugged. Rejecting a mate is not easy. Especially when you see her for the first time, rejection will be far from the last thing on your mind. He told me, and I sighed. He was right, but I have strong feelings for Danica, and I also don't want to hurt her. She's had enough of that. What do I do? I asked Kaden. In a way, I didn't want to have this conversation with him. His mate died last year, and only because of his dedication to the pack and my support is he alive today and doing well. But I know he misses her, and weighing all my girl problems on him makes me feel guilty, but if I held back on telling him, he'd force me anyway. Don't date her. Be her best friend or something, but don't put her in a position that might bring her right back to stage 1 again. She's strong, that's for sure, but a person can only go through so much before they fall. I nodded slowly in understanding. Thanks, bro. Kaden nodded at me, and we did a fist pound. You know I got your back. Hey, I'm about to go check on her. Wanna come with? I asked, but he shook his head. I'm a bit behind on some files right now, and I paused to give advice to your dumb self, so maybe another time, Maiden. He added with a chuckle, and I punched his shoulder. All right, mister. Alpha, see you later after perimeter check. I nodded to him, then exited the office, his words still echoing in my mind. Danica. I really hope to be something with her. Hey, Aiden. I groaned in annoyance and turned to face Miranda. Yes, Miranda? Oh, I'm fine, and you? Good? Okay. Oh, Danica is fine, yeah. You gotta go? I gotta go too, bye. I ended off with a smile, then turned to leave. I heard her growl lowly, then stomp away, and I released a breath of relief. Thank you, goddess. As I made my way to the medical wing of the pack house, I knocked lightly on Danica's room, but she didn't answer. Slowly, I opened the door to reveal her fast asleep in the bed. I crept in quietly and stood by her hospital bed. I won't hurt you. I whispered more to myself as I moved strands of her hair from her face. She moved a little, then let out a soft snort, almost making me burst out laughing. Her mother was also in the room, sitting in a chair in the corner, staring at me intently. You really care about her, don't you? She asked me, and I nodded, making my way over to her. I love my daughter Jaden Dash. Aiden, I corrected. Same thing. She shrugged, and I fought back the urge to glare. I love my daughter, and I made mistakes with her that I wish I could take back what I did, but I can't. I can only beg for her forgiveness and learn from my mistakes. I'm aware you don't have a mate, is that right? I eyed her cautiously, then nodded again. Okay. Don't hurt her, please. Because she will kill you and I'll put you in my freezer. She finished nonchalantly, then got up from her seat, smiling at me like she didn't just threaten my life 5 seconds ago, and strolled to the bathroom. These girls are crazy. Chapter 16, You're No Better. Danica's POV. 2 weeks later. Be careful, Danny. My mom yelled to me, and I ran out of the house to school. Yeah, I know. I replied through our link, not bothering to strain my voice on yelling. I've been doing makeup work to catch up on the school work I've been missing. Today marked about a week or 2 since I returned, and I didn't want to go, but I needed to graduate. I hope they don't require me to repeat another year due to my absence. Recently, I haven't heard anything about Richard, and I honestly just hoped he would stay gone. Although I still need to reject him, I assumed that if we just stayed away from one another, and maybe if I found someone else in the future, the bond would break on its own. However, that was just my assumption. I hoped it was right. My mind has been on him lately, and I kinda missed him. This mark. It still hurts to touch it because I refuse to accept it, but when it itches and I can't scratch it, oh man, that isn't very good. As I walked along the sidewalk, the beeping of a car was heard behind me, so I turned around, and it was a black BMW. I eyed it suspiciously as it pulled it up next to me. Relief flooded me as the window rolled down and I saw Aiden. God, you scared me. I exclaimed, and he laughed. Get in, we seem to be going the same way. He said with a shrug, and I gladly got in and secured my seatbelt. It's been a while since I've seen you. How are you? Aiden asked me, and I smiled at the sincerity in his voice. Since I left Aiden's pack, we haven't seen much of each other since he's back to his usual busyness of pack duties, and I'm focusing on school, so there hasn't been much time for us to spend together. But despite that, we've been good friends above it all. I'm good, Aiden, I replied and raised my brow while staring intently at the road. You sure? He asked, and I nodded, reassuring him. Have you found him? I asked after a brief millisecond of silence, and Aiden tensed. His pack Alpha and mine have been working together to find Richard, hence the reason Aiden is on our territory. No, we had a lead, but it turned out blank. He's an older male, which makes him more intelligent in hiding his tracks. Everything we find we follow, then nothing. Aiden said with a defeated sigh, and I felt my eye twitch. It's okay. It's not your fault. I said, but my words didn't seem to help as his defeated look didn't even falter. Has the mark bothered you? No, not really, I said, resisting the urge to touch it. It itches a lot at times and burns on random, but besides that, it's good. Aiden seemed satisfied with my answer and didn't pester me anymore on the subject, but my curiosity was suddenly piqued as a thought occurred. Have you found your mate yet? Again, Aiden tensed and shook his head. Don't you want to find her? No, Aiden said suddenly, and I rolled my eyes. Why not? I asked cautiously, but by the way Aiden looked at me through the corner of his eye, I felt like I already knew. Aiden stopped the car and parked on the side of the street. I want you, Danica, just you. I've liked you for so long, and I felt like you never saw it. At some point, I avoided you because of some advice my bro Alpha gave me to just stay friends with you, but I can't. Please, just give me a chance. My eyes were as wide as saucers as I took in his words. He literally threw the friendship card in the shredder. What about your mate? I asked, and he shrugged. I could reject her so we could be together. Who knows? She probably has someone else or is in a whole other state or continent. I may never find her. It doesn't matter where she is or who she might be with, I yelled as my anger flared. You can't do that to her because if you do, then you are no better than Richard. I finished with a disgusted tone, then hurriedly got out of his car and jogged down the road, ignoring Aiden's calls for me to come back. Chapter 17 Graduate? I wonder if she's been with her stepdad recently. She's such a freak. Just proves the goddess doesn't love every one of us. These were just a few of the things I've been hearing for over a week since returning to school. Eventually, word got around that Danica, the freak, Monroe was mated to her mother's husband, and guess what happened? The story got bigger and bigger until it reached the point where they began to say I was involved with him, and boy, did it get worse when they saw me marked. I would be a liar if I said it didn't bother me and make me want to leave sometimes, but people will talk, and I can't control what they say. I know the truth, those who matter know the truth, and that is all that matters. I turned up my music on my earphones. My new favorite song, Castle by Halsey, was playing, and I gladly allowed myself to be pulled into the lyrics of the music. I'm heading straight for the castle. They want to make me the queen. But an old man is sitting on the throne now, saying that I probably shouldn't be so mean. As I entered my class, my teacher nodded to me and I nodded back, taking my seat in the front of the class. Now, class, the teacher began. Today we find out which of you are eligible to graduate in 3 weeks. I'll be calling out the names. Whoever isn't called means that you repeat this class next year. Listen carefully. I crossed my fingers and prayed to the goddess that my name would be called. Avery Michaels, Wade Killen, Iris Thomas, Summer Hades. Small cheers and high fives erupted around the class as multiple students heard their names being called. Mine was yet to be called, and as the number of those uncalled grew smaller, I began to lose hope slowly. Skylar Quinn, Kellen Gray, Danica Monroe. Hell yes! I jumped up and shouted, then quickly sat back down and blushed profusely from my outburst. My teacher smirked at me, then continued to call the names on his paper. I did it. I'm going to graduate. After school finished, I rushed home to tell my mom the good news. Things weren't exactly 100%. In some ways, it was awkward being around her, and I felt weird, but I'm glad I still have her and that she never disowned me. As I walked along the sidewalk, my mark began to burn and itch badly. Trying my best to ignore it, I continued to walk as quickly as I could to my home. Despite the burning from my mark, my spirits were high and nothing could ruin it for me. I rushed into my house and dropped my bag at the door. Mom, where are you? I have great news. Kitchen Danny. I used my enhanced speed and bolted into the kitchen and frowned as soon as I came in. Why is he here? I asked, pointing to Aiden, who was casually sipping orange juice without a care in the world, like we didn't just disagree this morning. Oh, Jaden Dash, my mom began, but got cut off by Aiden. Aiden. Same thing, Mom shrugged. Aiden came over to see you. Okay then, well, Mom, I have news. I squealed and clapped my hands. What? She asked, then gulped her juice. I'm graduating. I screamed, and the juice she had taken a gulp of was now on Aiden as she spit it out and began to cry with me. Oops, sorry, Jaden. Aiden groaned in disgust. It's AI, you know what, forget it. I'm so proud of you, Danny. My mom exclaimed and hugged me. Thanks, Mom, I said with a smile and pulled away from her embrace, then faced Aiden, who had a sad smile on his face. What did you want to talk about? I hoped he wasn't going to mention this morning, when I had just gotten the best news I've gotten in a real long time. Well, he said and scratched the back of his neck. What is it, Aiden? I asked with a tilt of my head. We found Richard. Chapter 18, Strawberry. Remember to keep calm and say whatever you need to say quickly. My alpha didn't authorize this, so I tuned Aiden out as I got lost in my own thoughts. I'm going to see Richard again. I'm going to face him again. And this mark itches. As Aiden and I walked down the metal corridors of his PAX prison, my nerves got more on edge. Could I even speak to him? I honestly didn't expect even to see him again, but look at this. My mother wanted to come, but I asked her to stay back. Being here with Richard, as well as her, would be a little too awkward for comfort. Besides, I know she can't handle seeing him again. That's why Aiden didn't say anything about Richard till I got home. He knows she can't handle it. Danica. I heard Aiden yell, and I snapped out of my trance, almost tripping over my own foot as I caught my balance in the last second. Yeah, this is his cell. Aiden said as he nodded his head towards the large metal door that was in front of us. Why is this door bigger than the others? I asked, and one of the guards who was on duty opened the door for us to enter. It's a torture chamber, he replied as he stepped through the entrance. I gasped. You haven't been? No, Aiden replied quickly. I wouldn't do that. You'd feel it. I sighed in relief. As much as I hated Richard, a part of me wouldn't want to see him beaten up and bruised. We walked through the small, narrow corridor until we approached another door, but this one was smaller than the main door. Are you ready? We can leave right now if you want. Aiden asked me once more, and I nodded, taking a deep breath. The door clanked, and the light sound of metal echoed around me as he pushed it open. I gasped at the sight before me. Richard was strung up with both his hands and feet bound by chains, which, by the particular shine of it, had a bit of silver in it. Since it wasn't a lot of silver, he wouldn't really feel pain, but it would prevent him from shifting into his wolf. Richard, I mumbled in shock at seeing him. He had no visible bruises besides a cut on his forehead, which had dried blood on it. Is he knocked out or something? I asked as I slowly stepped into the room, staring at Richard intently. He had made no movements since I came in, besides the steady rising and falling of his chest, indicating to me that he was, for sure, alive. He's weak because of the mild silver in his system, so yeah, he might be. Aiden replied. As I drew closer to Richard, my breath began to burn, and I stepped back abruptly with a hiss. This mark. You haven't accepted it, I see. I looked up to Richard as he was watching me with cold eyes. No, and I'm never going to. Then I guess you have to take a seat and wait for the next couple of years to pass before the bond breaks, he said, and I glared. Well, at least my theory was correct. The bond would break itself over time, but not in years. The moon goddess is seriously unfair. Just do the rejection, Richard. Save yourself and me the pain. You can find someone else. Someone your own age. Just let me go. I pleaded, but he shook his head slowly, letting his dry, dirty locks fall in front of his face. Sure, I can find someone else, but I will never find you again. Get over yourself, Richard, I said with a roll of my eyes. Now is not the time or place for you to try to even sweet-talk me. Aiden snorted behind me and quickly faked a cough to cover it, causing me to smile and shake my head. You two are a thing, aren't you? Richard asked, and I scoffed. Yes, we are. I covered up quickly and kept a calm facade, hoping he didn't notice my little slip-up. Aiden and I aren't a thing, obviously, but I won't miss the opportunity to mess with Richard's head. A low series of growls escaped from Richard's mouth, and I could literally feel Aiden smirking hard. Danica, we need to go. The Alpha is coming back. Aiden said in a rushed tone, and I nodded, turning to leave. You will never love him like you love me. Richard called out, and I ignored him, rushing down the narrow corridor while Aiden closed the door. The two guards from before had opened the main doors and let us out. 2 minutes beta. One of them said, and Aiden groaned. I know. He replied and grabbed my arm, dragging me out of the prison and to his car. Can I come back here? I wasn't finished. I asked, hoping he'd say yes. We'll see, Danny, Aiden replied. We got to his car and opened the door for me. Get in quickly, he said as he made his way to the driver's side. I put my foot in and was about to get in completely when I took a whiff of the sweetest scent I'd ever smelled. It was like strawberries mixed with the smell of fresh rain or dew. Goodness, what is that? Danica, come on. Aiden's yelling snapped me out of my sniffing, and I reluctantly got in the car. You okay? He asked, and I nodded fervently, but I was far from okay. I was fine, but I wasn't. I felt flustered and slightly away from reality. That scent was simply heavenly, and I don't have a clue what it was. I shifted uncomfortably in my seat as I suddenly felt the urge to move, but I tried my best to hold it back until we were at least in my pack territory. Won't the Alpha smell we were there? I asked, and Aiden shrugged. I've had the guards take care of that. Kaden is strict at times, especially when he's in a bad mood, so I didn't want to take the chance. Kaden? Wow, you guys have like the same name. I licked my lips since my mouth now felt dry as hell. What the hell is going on? Yeah, Aiden chuckled, but it was pretty dry, coincidence, right? I eyed him suspiciously, then nodded slowly and focused on the passing trees, my mind going back to that scent I smelled. I will find out what that is. Chapter 19. Cookies. Kaden's POV. I cracked my neck as I stepped out of my light blue BMW and looked around. My eyes narrowed at the quickly retreating car I identified as my brother's. What trouble has he started now? He was with someone, and the particular scent stood out among the others, which I already knew. It was sweet-like. Interesting, I haven't smelled any new scents here since those wolves invaded my land, and this smelled nothing like those three: Rosanna, Richard, Danica. It was taunting me. Now I felt like a bubble surrounded me, and the only air I breathed was that amazing scent. As Ade's car disappeared down the dirt path, I was ready to follow it, but I was stopped by one of my guards. Alpha. We have Alpha Iris and his daughter awaiting on your permission to enter the land. I groaned in annoyance and ran my hand through my hair. Tell them I'm dead, I said, and walked up to the pack house. I have been avoiding Alpha Iris and his daughter for months now, using my piles and piles of miraculously created lies and excuses. Why, you ask? Because Iris expects me to join our packs together to form one, and the only way to do that is by marriage. Married to his daughter, Eileen. But you know what I say? No way. I lost my mate, and I don't want any other female in my life. Besides, I don't like Eileen. She's annoying like a fly and not very bright. Eileen has a mate, yet she won't accept him, and the poor guy is too lovesick to move on. Why doesn't she accept him? Power. Eileen is a greedy person with a father who is in way over his head. As I entered my large office in the pack house, I sat down on my chair and leaned back. I haven't even glanced at my folders yet, and I already have a headache. But no matter the headache, I still couldn't get that scent out of my head, and Aiden knows who it belongs to, obviously, since it was left in his car. Aid, I called out via our link, but he blocked me out. Great. I dug through my tons of paperwork and retrieved my phone to give him a call, since he isn't available via link. I will know who he had in that car. Danica's POV. Who's calling you? I asked Aiden as he frowned deeply at his phone. It's Kaden, he said, then mouthed to me to stay quiet while he answered the call. Hey, Cade. Who did you bring here? A rough yet very, very deep voice said on the other side of the phone, and I suddenly felt breathless. I tried not to make any sounds and get myself under control, but my body was not cooperating with me. Well, hey to you too, Aiden replied with forced humor, making me roll my eyes. Who did you bring? That smell was amazing. Complete a voice change for the following text. Voice 1, Original. We are thrilled to announce our acquisition of Nova Solutions, a strategic move that significantly enhances our capabilities in the AI-driven analytics sector. This partnership combines our robust infrastructure with Nova's innovative data synthesis technology. We anticipate that this synergy will unlock unprecedented efficiencies and create substantial value for our shareholders. Financial projections indicate a 15% increase in our market share within the next 2 years, which is directly attributed to this integration. Voice 2 Target. E-commerce website, flash sale alert style. Your text here, then said, and I froze. Smell? Did he smell what I did? Wait, could that mean? No, that's not possible. That must have been my cookies. Yeah, my cookies. Aiden said with a light chuckle as he slowly pulled the car over. Cookies, sure. Come back immediately. Kaden said it in an alpha tone, which made me want to submit, and he isn't even my alpha. Oh, and make you bring your cookies. With that, Alpha Kaden disconnected the call. Well, that was nice, I said, as my nerves calmed down a little since Kaden was no longer on the phone. However, I did miss his voice, just a little. I can't bring you back. Can you run from here? Aiden asked me with a pleading look on his face. Why can't I just meet him? I mean, he obviously knows I'm with you. It won't make any sense to come back without me or any cookies, I said with a smirk. Danania Kakeowa, Aiden whined like a child, and I sighed. Okay, but you owe me. He smiled at me as I got out of the car. I'll make up for this, I promise. Be safe, all right? I waved him off, then watched as Aiden turned the car in the direction we had come and drove off. Since I didn't really feel like shifting, I just walked along the dirt path towards my pack. I wished Aiden had taken me with him. It would have been awesome to meet Kaden. I don't know, just the mention of him makes me all excited and hyped. I have a theory as to why that might be, but I may need to discuss it with one of my pack elders. I heard a car approaching from behind me, and for a moment, I thought it was Aiden until I turned and saw it was a red car this time, and Aiden's car is not red. Cautiously, I moved to the side to give it room to pass me by, but as it drew closer, it slowed down. Oh my goodness, what the hell? Would you like a ride? I heard a female voice call out as it stopped right next to me. The dark glass rolled down, revealing a very interesting-looking girl. She would pass for pretty, if her face wasn't caked with makeup. Oh no, that's okay, I said with a fake smile. I have no idea who this girl is, and even though I got no bad vibe from her, I'm still keeping my guard up. Come on. I won't bite. Besides, it's pretty far from the next pack village, so come on in, she said as she flashed her pearly whites at me. I studied her intently. She obviously wasn't going to give up, so I accepted her ride and climbed in next to her. Thanks, I said, and she nodded. Of course. My daddy and I are heading back to our pack. He's in the front. I nodded. My name is Danica, by the way. I held out my hand for her to shake, but instead she pulled me into a bone-crushing hug that damn near knocked the life out of me. My name is Eileen. Chapter 20 Mama OD. Mom? I called out, then shut the front door with a loud bang, hoping to get her attention from whatever part of the house she was in, since she obviously wasn't downstairs. Eileen had dropped me off a few minutes ago near my pack borders, and I walked the rest of the way. Man, can she talk. She didn't shut up for the entire time I was in the car, and it wasn't even a good conversation. Makeup, clothes, makeup, shopping, calories, shopping, and more shopping. I didn't even know that buying the same top in 6 different colors was needed. She is obviously a bit spoiled, okay, maybe a lot, but besides being overly conceited and not that bright, she isn't so bad. She mentioned she was going to marry her mate soon. I couldn't help but feel jealous at yet another pair of mates going to live happily ever after. Wish I could have had that, but I'm happy for Eileen. She wouldn't tell me who it was, though. All she said was that he was an alpha and that she'd be sure to send me a wedding invite. Mom? I yelled again, but got no reply. Well then. Since she wasn't here, I went into the kitchen to see if she had left me any food or something. I glanced around for any bowls or covered plates on the counter, but there were none, just a note. Attended a meeting that Alpha called. Won't be home till late. Hugs and kisses, Mom. Great. I'm home alone with nothing to do. Wait, maybe there is something. I grabbed a pear from the fruit basket and jogged to the front door. I slipped on my flip-flops and headed out the door. As I walked through my large pack village, I headed straight to the house where I might find answers to my thoughts. I knocked on the door. Who the heck is that at Madu at this hour? Can't you see it's getting late, you? Oh, Danny. You ain't been over to see me in Fueva, child. Mama OD. She was the woman who knew everything about anything werewolf related and the only person who could probably have answers to my questions. Mama OD stared at me intently with squinted eyes. Hey Mama OD. I know I haven't been by, but a lot has been going on. I know, child. I done heard the village gossip. Come on in, she said and opened the door fully so I could come in. Mama OD was Jamaican. She was a rogue that came onto our land a few years back when our present Alpha's father was in charge. He saved her from being killed by the guards, and she's been a member ever since. My mom told me the story just like her mother told her. Mama OD is said to be over 200 years old, but she hasn't confirmed her exact age to anyone. What can I do for you, child? Mama OD asked me as she sat in her recliner, and I sat on the couch opposite her. I rubbed my hands nervously and hoped what I was about to ask didn't sound completely insane. Do second chance mates exist, Mama? Aiden's POV. So, you dropped a box of cookies on the highway on your way back? Kaden questioned me with a raised brow as he twiddled with his pocket knife. I gulped as I recalled how good of an aim he has, but he wouldn't kill me, right? Of course not. Yeah, it just, pow. Fell right there on the road when I opened my door. You know I'm a klutz, Cade, I said. I could lie to the goddess herself and sound more convincing than I did just now. For some reason, I've never been able to lie to Kaden and make him a fluent one. Aid, you know I love you, right? I mean, you are my little brother after all. Cade said with a flash of a smile, then back to a serious facade. Of course, bro. I love you too. Then stop messing with me. Who did you bring here? I need to know. Kaden yelled as he threw the knife into the desk and stood up abruptly. Why is this such a big deal? I asked him with narrowed eyes. I just need to know. He exclaimed and ran a hand through his hair. Look, I have a meeting to attend to with a neighboring pack. We'll talk about this later. Cade rubbed his nose, then brushed past me and out of the office. I sighed and sat down in one of his chairs. He seemed so interested in Danica. Though, he should know who she is, I mean, her scent was here that night, so he should know it, but he doesn't. It's like... She smelled different to him. But how? That doesn't make any sense. Does it? Should it? Chapter 21, Second Chance Mate? Oh, child. Second chance mates? Why are you asking about that? Mama OD asked me as she raised a hairy brow, and I rubbed my shoulder. Well, you know about my mate already. MHM. I took the scent, Mama. It was so sweet and amazing, and I felt so lost in it, and I heard you only take a scent like that from Dash, your mate. She finished for me, and I nodded. Mama OD rubbed her chin, and then snapped her fingers. Well, it be possible, but that ain't happened for a long time, child. All I need to know is that there's a chance it can happen. I felt a sudden excitement. Second chance mates are real, and they do exist. That means I could very well have one. The scent I took could be my second chance mates. But wait. Mama OD, if someone has a second mate, would they be able to sense them if they still have the first one? Mama OD looked a bit taken aback by my question, then she looked confused. No? I asked again, and she nodded. No, Mama repeated, and I felt the little excitement I had go down in flames. That means I don't have one after all. Thanks for the help, Mama OD, but I gotta run home and prepare dinner. I said softly. Alright, child. Be sure to visit Mama now you hear me. I'll visit, I told her with a smile, and I intended to keep my word. Wait, Mama OD exclaimed, you not going to that meeting? I heard it's a big one. I thought for a moment. Usually, meetings involve every member of the pack, but you can choose to attend or not if you haven't received a general notice from the Alpha himself. I don't think I will. I'll just get my mom to tell me what it's about. Alright, child. Good night. Good night, Mama. Kaden POV. How about joint pack training in the open field between both our packs? I added. Why joined? Alpha Devon asked with a raised brow as he looked up from the map he was scanning profusely. Because your pack needs to know how to fight other wolves besides each other. They need to see different tactics, different movements besides sparring with their friends whose movements they already know down to the T. And you know better than anyone else in this room that tactics are everything in battle. I said as I eyed every person in the room with us, currently at the meeting. Devon nodded in understanding, then clapped his hands. Everyone, take 5 then come back so we can get this done. I know you all probably want to stretch your legs by now. Half of the room groaned in appraisal, then bolted out of the room as quickly as they could, including Devon, but one woman lingered. One I knew all too well. Rosanna. I said with a nod. Her head shot up and looked at me. She looked scared or nervous. It's not like I was going to hurt her. Alpha Kaden. She replied with a nod. I just wanted to apologize to you. Personally. I rose from my seat and slowly strode over to her. My height of 6 feet 5 inches towers over her, maybe 5 feet 4 inches in stature. Apologize. I asked with a smirk, and she looked like she was about to roll her eyes, but held it back. Yes, for intruding on your land that night. I just wanted to protect my daughter. Rosanna explained, and I shrugged. No harm done. Just maybe get permission next time. She nodded and flashed me a quick smile before leaving the room. I saw no reason to scold her or anything like that for trying to do her job. She is a mother after all. Children were something I always wanted with my ma. I sighed and left the room in search of the kitchen for a Coke. This place is confusing. How the heck am I? There it is. That scent from before. It's here. Well, Ade's cookies indeed traveled far from that road. I breathed in the scent as deeply as I could to try to pinpoint where it was coming from. Outside. As I rushed to the front door, avoiding the weird looks I was getting from the people I passed, my hand was just about to open the door when I heard my name being called. Alpha Kaden, the meeting is about to resume. I growled. 5 more minutes, I said, but as I was about to turn the knob, Devon spoke again. We need to get this done, Kaden. We have a lot of ground to cover. Anger filled me as I reluctantly let go of the knob and turned to face Devon. I gave him a nod, and he disappeared into the quarters of his office. I guess my little quest will have to wait. Alpha duties. I glanced at the knob one last time. Shaking my head, I went to Devon's office to continue the meeting. I passed a window and caught a glance at a redhead passing in the distance, but she disappeared faster than I expected. I felt like I needed to know her, but in some way, I felt like I already knew her. Danica's POV. I opened my front door and sighed. For some reason, I felt depressed and upset. I don't know if I was feeling that way because of what Mama OD told me or if these emotions were even mine. Richard. The thought of him made this markage. I really want it gone already, but I have no choice but to live with it until I eventually move on with my life and get someone to cover it up. I guess I've got a long way to go. From the looks of things, my mom isn't home yet, so I might as well actually start dinner. I kicked off my shoes and lazily walked to the kitchen. As I swung open the kitchen door, my body collided with the door. Wait, I had opened the door though. I gasped as a hand gripped mine, and tingles shot through my entire hand, making me feel weak in the knees. I knew only one thing, and one person could do that. Oh heck. Chapter 22 Escapee. Get off of me. I screamed as I thrashed around in his arms. Relax, he whispered. Let me go. I screamed in Richard's face as he tightened his grip on me. I just want to talk. Relax, and I'll let you go. Richard whispered into my ear, and I couldn't help but shiver when his lips lightly grazed my mark. It sent a strong shiver through me. I growled softly to myself for that moment of weakness and stopped my violent movements. As promised, Richard's hands slowly loosened from their grasp on me, and I jumped away from him to put space between us. Why are you here? I thought you were locked away. Richard stuffed his hands into his coat pocket and stared at me intently. I was released. My eyes widened in shock. By who? He shrugged and leaned against the kitchen counter. I don't know. A guard came in and told me I could leave. I came back here for my clothes and to speak to you. Well, I want nothing to do with you, quite frankly, so you can take your stuff and leave, I said calmly, but really, I was fuming on the inside. I don't know, but seeing him in front of me right now was both relieving and making me angry. Danica, please. I came here for a reason. Richard pleaded with him, and I sighed. What do you want? Richard leaned off the counter and walked up in front of me. I backed away until my back was against the wall and Richard towered above me. His finger caressed my cheek, and I fought with myself to push him away, but I just couldn't. He looked straight into my eyes, and I noticed his eyes looked down sad. He took a deep breath, then spoke, and the words he said were not the words I expected to hear in a million years. Aiden's POV. Mom, please stop. I pleaded with my mother as I walked around the kitchen island in circles with my fingers in my ears. When you going to find your mate and bring me some grandbabies? I'm not getting any younger, Aiden. She ranted. Why don't you bother Kaden with this stuff? I groaned in annoyance and banged my head once on the countertop. Thank goodness for being a werewolf, or that would hurt. He isn't he, Dash? Mom, is Aiden here? Oh, there you are. Aiden, my office, please. Kaden said as soon as he burst into the kitchen with an already annoyed look on his face. Kaden, Mom yelled with narrowed eyes, is that how you greet your family? Kaden's eyes shifted to Mom's, and the hard look he came in with seemed to have melted away in an instant. No matter how badly he portrays himself, he has always had a soft spot for our mom. Hey, Mama, Kaden said with a smile and his hands wrapped around Mom in an embrace. I made a gagging noise and Kaden growled, releasing Mom from the hug. We need to talk. Oh no. You can talk right here. We don't have soundproof walls for nothing. Besides, you guys never let me in on anything. Mom pouted, and I couldn't help but laugh, while on the other hand, Kaden was serious as hell. Who is it, Aiden? Kaden growled to me, and I grabbed my Coke, which I had been drinking earlier, and sipped it. Who is who? I asked, and he scoffed. Are you two really the leaders of my pack? Mom asked as she rubbed her forehead. You both are so childish. Aiden, just tell him you brought your girlfriend here. I choked on my drink as I stared wide-eyed at my mother. Girlfriend? Kaden questioned. She isn't my girlfriend. Goodness, Mom. I exclaimed, and she stuck her tongue out at me. And I'm the childish one, I said with a roll of my eyes. Then why did she smell like that? I heard Kaden whisper as he stared at the floor, his expression dazed. What's the smell you keep going on about? I asked. His head went up, and he shook it. Nothing. Forget it. The front door suddenly slammed shut, and Kaden stood in an attack stance in front of Mom, and I was ready to shift. One of our guards, Wade, burst into the kitchen with his head bowed. I apologize for disturbing your home, Luna, he said, referring to my mom as Luna. She may not be the present Luna, but she is still considered as such since Kaden's mate passed. But I needed to speak with the Alpha urgently, and he was unavailable through Link. Get on with it. Kaden and I said at the same time, and I snapped my fingers. You owe me a Coke, I said with a smile, and he rolled his eyes. Richard Blaze has escaped, Wade said. What do you mean he escaped? Kaden bellowed, and I cleared my throat. All heads snapped my direction. He didn't escape, I let him go. What? Kaden started, but I cut him off. Now. I had good reason, and I have trackers keeping an eye on him. I finished then down the rest of my Coke. I'm done, Mom said and walked out of the kitchen with her hands up. And what reason is that? That extremely important reason that you went ahead and made a decision like that without my authorization. My brother seethed with anger. You'll find out soon, I said with surety. Danica's POV. I'm here to accept your rejection, Richard said, and I swear my heart stopped. You're kidding, I said, and he shook his head slowly, then took a step back away from me. I've thought a lot, Danica, and thinking was something I haven't been doing enough. You deserve to be happy, but your happiness won't come with me. We might be mates, but you're beyond me, so I'm giving you a chance to live your life, and I can only hope one day you actually forgive me, and maybe I can be a part of it. I stood there in utter silence at his speech. I couldn't believe he wasn't kidding. He's going to go through with the rejection. Richard reached over by the sink and grabbed a knife. He sliced his palm swiftly without a wince and handed it to me. Here. I hesitantly took it and lingered with the knife in my palm. What is wrong with me? This is what I want. Is it? He's right. I can't find happiness with him. Come on, Danica, come on. I sliced my palm with the knife and let it drop to the floor. As the blood began to pool up in the cut, Richard grabbed my hand. He growled softly, and his canines grew longer. My mark began to burn about 3x worse than before, and I felt breathless. Say it, he whispered. I struggled to get my words out. This stupid mark. Danica Monroe, reject Richard Blaze as my mate. I choked out. Every word made me feel like I was falling into a dark place and extremely broken. Richard sent a sad smile at me, then he himself took a deep breath. Richard Blaze, accept your rejection. Chapter 22 Escapee. Get off of me, I screamed as I thrashed around in his arms. Relax, he whispered. Let me go. I screamed in Richard's face as he tightened his grip on me. I just want to talk. Relax, and I'll let you go. Richard whispered into my ear, and I couldn't help but shiver when his lips lightly grazed my mark. It sent a strong shiver through me. I growled softly to myself for that moment of weakness and stopped my violent movements. As promised, Richard's hands slowly loosened from their grasp on me, and I jumped away from him to put space between us. Why are you here? I thought you were locked away. Richard stuffed his hands into his coat pocket and stared at me intently. I was released. My eyes widened in shock. By who? He shrugged and leaned against the kitchen counter. I don't know. A guard came in and told me I could leave. I came back here for my clothes and to speak to you. Well, I want nothing to do with you, quite frankly, so you can take your stuff and leave, I said calmly, but really, I was fuming on the inside. I don't know, but seeing him in front of me right now was both relieving and making me angry. Danica, please. I came here for a reason. Richard pleaded with him, and I sighed. What do you want? Richard leaned off the counter and walked up in front of me. I backed away until my back was against the wall and Richard towered above me. His finger caressed my cheek, and I fought with myself to push him away, but I just couldn't. He looked straight into my eyes, and I noticed his eyes looked down sad. He took a deep breath, then spoke, and the words he said were not the words I expected to hear in a million years. Aiden's POV. Mom, please stop. I pleaded with my mother as I walked around the kitchen island in circles with my fingers in my ears. When you going to find your mate and bring me some grandbabies? I'm not getting any younger, Aiden. She ranted. Why don't you bother Kaden with this stuff? I groaned in annoyance and banged my head once on the countertop. Thank goodness for being a werewolf, or that would hurt. He isn't he, Dash? Mom, is Aiden here? Oh, there you are. Aiden, my office, please. Kaden said as soon as he burst into the kitchen with an already annoyed look on his face. Kaden, Mom yelled with narrowed eyes, is that how you greet your family? Kaden's eyes shifted to Mom's, and the hard look he came in with seemed to have melted away in an instant. No matter how badly he portrays himself, he has always had a soft spot for our mom. Hey, Mama, Kaden said with a smile and his hands wrapped around Mom in an embrace. I made a gagging noise and Kaden growled, releasing Mom from the hug. We need to talk. Oh no. You can talk right here. We don't have soundproof walls for nothing. Besides, you guys never let me in on anything. Mom pouted, and I couldn't help but laugh, while on the other hand, Kaden was serious as hell. Who is it, Aiden? Kaden growled to me, and I grabbed my Coke, which I had been drinking earlier, and sipped it. Who is who? I asked, and he scoffed. Are you two really the leaders of my pack? Mom asked as she rubbed her forehead. You both are so childish. Aiden, just tell him you brought your girlfriend here. I choked on my drink as I stared wide-eyed at my mother. Girlfriend? Kaden questioned. She isn't my girlfriend. Goodness, Mom. I exclaimed, and she stuck her tongue out at me. And I'm the childish one, I said with a roll of my eyes. Then why did she smell like that? I heard Kaden whisper as he stared at the floor, his expression dazed. What's the smell you keep going on about? I asked. His head went up, and he shook it. Nothing. Forget it. The front door suddenly slammed shut, and Kaden stood in an attack stance in front of Mom, and I was ready to shift. One of our guards, Wade, burst into the kitchen with his head bowed. I apologize for disturbing your home, Luna, he said, referring to my mom as Luna. She may not be the present Luna, but she is still considered as such since Kaden's mate passed. But I needed to speak with the Alpha urgently, and he was unavailable through Link. Get on with it, Kaden and I said at the same time, and I snapped my fingers. You owe me a Coke, I said with a smile, and he rolled his eyes. Richard Blaze has escaped, Wade said. What do you mean he escaped? Kaden bellowed, and I cleared my throat. All heads snapped my direction. He didn't escape, I let him go. What? Kaden started, but I cut him off. No. I had good reason, and I have trackers keeping an eye on him. I finished then down the rest of my Coke. I'm done, Mom said and walked out of the kitchen with her hands up. And what reason is that? That extremely important reason that you went ahead and made a decision like that without my authorization. My brother seethed with anger. You'll find out soon, I said with surety. Danica's POV. I'm here to accept your rejection, Richard said, and I swear my heart stopped. You're kidding, I said, and he shook his head slowly, then took a step back away from me. I've thought a lot, Danica, and thinking was something I haven't been doing enough. You deserve to be happy, but your happiness won't come with me. We might be mates, but you're beyond me, so I'm giving you a chance to live your life, and I can only hope one day you actually forgive me, and maybe I can be a part of it. I stood there in utter silence at his speech. I couldn't believe he wasn't kidding. He's going to go through with the rejection. Richard reached over by the sink and grabbed a knife. He sliced his palm swiftly without a wince and handed it to me. Here. I hesitantly took it and lingered with the knife in my palm. What is wrong with me? This is what I want. Is it? He's right. I can't find happiness with him. Come on, Danica, come on. I sliced my palm with the knife and let it drop to the floor. As the blood began to pool up in the cut, Richard grabbed my hand. He growled softly and his canines grew longer. My mark began to burn about 3x worse than before, and I felt breathless. Say it, he whispered. I struggled to get my words out. This stupid mark. I Danica Monroe, reject Richard Blaze as my mate. I choked out. Every word made me feel like I was falling into a dark place and extremely broken. Richard sent a sad smile at me, then he himself took a deep breath. I, Richard Blaze, accept your rejection. Chapter 22 Escapee. Get off of me. I screamed as I thrashed around in his arms. Relax, he whispered. Let me go. I screamed in Richard's face as he tightened his grip on me. I just want to talk. Relax and I'll let you go. Richard whispered into my ear, and I couldn't help but shiver when his lips lightly grazed my mark. It sent a strong shiver through me. I growled softly to myself for that moment of weakness and stopped my violent movements. As promised, Richard's hands slowly loosened from their grasp on me, and I jumped away from him to put space between us. Why are you here? I thought you were locked away. Richard stuffed his hands into his coat pocket and stared at me intently. I was released. My eyes widened in shock. By who? He shrugged and leaned against the kitchen counter. I don't know. A guard came in and told me I could leave. I came back here for my clothes and to speak to you. Well, I want nothing to do with you, quite frankly, so you can take your stuff and leave, I said calmly, but really, I was fuming on the inside. I don't know, but seeing him in front of me right now was both relieving and making me angry. Danica, please. I came here for a reason. Richard pleaded with him, and I sighed. What do you want? Richard leaned off the counter and walked up in front of me. I backed away until my back was against the wall and Richard towered above me. His finger caressed my cheek, and I fought with myself to push him away, but I just couldn't. He looked straight into my eyes, and I noticed his eyes looked down sad. He took a deep breath, then spoke, and the words he said were not the words I expected to hear in a million years. Aiden's POV. Mom, please stop. I pleaded with my mother as I walked around the kitchen island in circles with my fingers in my ears. When you going to find your mate and bring me some grandbabies? I'm not getting any younger, Aiden. She ranted. Why don't you bother Kaden with this stuff? I groaned in annoyance and banged my head once on the countertop. Thank goodness for being a werewolf, or that would hurt. He isn't he, Dash? Mom, is Aiden here? Oh, there you are. Aiden, my office, please. Kaden said as soon as he burst into the kitchen with an already annoyed look on his face. Kaden, Mom yelled with narrowed eyes, is that how you greet your family? Kaden's eyes shifted to Mom's, and the hard look he came in with seemed to have melted away in an instant. No matter how badly he portrays himself, he has always had a soft spot for our mom. Hey, Mama, Kaden said with a smile and his hands wrapped around Mom in an embrace. I made a gagging noise and Kaden growled, releasing Mom from the hug. We need to talk. Oh no. You can talk right here. We don't have soundproof walls for nothing. Besides, you guys never let me in on anything. Mom pouted, and I couldn't help but laugh, while on the other hand, Kaden was serious as hell. Who is it, Aiden? Kaden growled to me, and I grabbed my Coke, which I had been drinking earlier, and sipped it. Who is who? I asked, and he scoffed. Are you two really the leaders of my pack? Mom asked as she rubbed her forehead. You both are so childish. Aiden, just tell him you brought your girlfriend here. I choked on my drink as I stared wide-eyed at my mother. Girlfriend? Kaden questioned. She isn't my girlfriend. Goodness, Mom. I exclaimed, and she stuck her tongue out at me. And I'm the childish one, I said with a roll of my eyes. Then why did she smell like that? I heard Kaden whisper as he stared at the floor, his expression dazed. What's this smell you keep going on about? I asked. His head went up, and he shook it. Nothing. Forget it. The front door suddenly slammed shut, and Kaden stood in an attack stance in front of Mom, and I was ready to shift. One of our guards, Wade, burst into the kitchen with his head bowed. I apologize for disturbing your home, Luna, he said, referring to my mom as Luna. She may not be the present Luna, but she is still considered as such since Kaden's mate passed. But I needed to speak with the Alpha urgently, and he was unavailable through Link. Get on with it, Kaden and I said at the same time, and I snapped my fingers. You owe me a Coke, I said with a smile, and he rolled his eyes. Richard Blaze has escaped, Wade said. What do you mean he escaped? Kaden bellowed, and I cleared my throat. All heads snapped my direction. He didn't escape, I let him go. What? Kaden started, but I cut him off. No. I had good reason, and I have trackers keeping an eye on him. I finished then down the rest of my Coke. I'm done, Mom said and walked out of the kitchen with her hands up. And what reason is that? That extremely important reason that you went ahead and made a decision like that without my authorization. My brother seethed with anger. You'll find out soon, I said with surety. Danica's POV. I'm here to accept your rejection, Richard said, and I swear my heart stopped. You're kidding, I said, and he shook his head slowly, then took a step back away from me. I've thought a lot, Danica, and thinking was something I haven't been doing enough. You deserve to be happy, but your happiness won't come with me. We might be mates, but you're beyond me, so I'm giving you a chance to live your life, and I can only hope one day you actually forgive me and maybe I can be a part of it. I stood there in utter silence at his speech. I couldn't believe he wasn't kidding. He's going to go through with the rejection. Richard reached over by the sink and grabbed a knife. He sliced his palm swiftly without a wince and handed it to me. Here. I hesitantly took it and lingered with the knife in my palm. What is wrong with me? This is what I want. Is it? He's right. I can't find happiness with him. Come on, Danica, come on. I sliced my palm with the knife and let it drop to the floor. As the blood began to pool up in the cut, Richard grabbed my hand. He growled softly and his canines grew longer. My mark began to burn about 3x worse than before, and I felt breathless. Say it, he whispered. I struggled to get my words out. This stupid mark. I Danica Monroe, reject Richard Blaze as my mate. I choked out. Every word made me feel like I was falling into a dark place and extremely broken. Richard sent a sad smile at me, then he himself took a deep breath. I, Richard Blaze, accept your rejection. Chapter 23 out of the picture. 1 week later. I stared at my gown with a Cheshire cat grin. I tried on my cap and smiled in the mirror. Graduation is tomorrow. I can't believe it. After tomorrow, I'll officially be done with high school. And tonight, well, I'll be talking to my mom about something vital. Everything has changed since Richard accepted the rejection, but that doesn't stop my original plans. My neck began to burn again, indicating to me that the naproxen was wearing off. I dug around in my bag for the pill bottle and popped one. Let me explain. Naproxen is a painkiller I now have to take 3 times a day to avoid the full-on pain of my mark. Since the rejection, it's hurt me badly. When I asked Mama OD about it yesterday, she told me it hurt because of the rejection, and the only way to stop it is either to take back the rejection, which is never going to happen, or get someone to mark over it. Which I'm not sure when that is going to happen, so they better have a lot of naproxen in storage. Unfortunately, it doesn't hold for the entire day. I take 1 in the morning, 2 in the afternoon, then I take the pain at night. My phone rang and I answered it. Hey, Aiden. Hey, Danny. What's up? He said it in an unusually cheerful voice, which made me raise an eyebrow. What's got you so happy? I asked suspiciously. What? I can't be happy that my best friend is graduating tomorrow? He asked, and I chuckled. Since when were we best friends? Besides the point, Aiden quickly said, I'm just really proud of you. You worked hard for this and came out successful despite all you had going on. Yeah, I know, right? But what did you call for exactly? Well, Aiden cleared his throat. I wondered if you wanted to go to dinner tonight. Not a date or anything, just a little congratulations dinner. Maybe a movie after. I said, clueless about whether I should go or not. It's not a date, so I guess it would be okay. Okay, Aid, that sounds good. Pick me up at around 9. Why so late? He asked. I have something I gotta talk to my mom about first. I replied. Oh, alright. I'll see you tonight, Danny. He said, and I nodded, even though he couldn't see me. We said our goodbyes, then I hung up. Now I need to find something to wear tonight. This is going to be fun. Not. Aiden's POV. I got off the call with Danica and turned to face him. I've found somewhere else for you to live. New life, new everything. You're welcome, and you may go. If we weren't on your land right now, I swear. You swear what? There is nothing you could do to me. I'm doing this for Danica. You and she will never be together, I said to Richard with a smirk. Neither will you and her. I did what you wanted. I accepted her rejection. But was that really necessary? He said, gesturing to my phone. I'm taking her out for a congratulatory dinner. No biggie. I said with a shrug. I might have made wrong decisions by her, but that doesn't mean it doesn't bother me any less. You have no say, in fact you never had a say. She isn't your mate anymore, Richard. He squinted his eyes at me and growled. I'll leave after her graduation. I shrugged. I can accept that. Have a good one, Richie. Richard stood up and mumbled to himself before leaving my office with a loud slam of the door. All I'm trying to do is keep Danica safe. She won't want to see Richard every day after a rejection. Although she seems to be doing okay, I know better. I see that rejection is not easy, plus the pain she goes through with that mark is enough. My phone vibrated in my hand. Unknown number. I sighed and picked up. Is it done? Is he going to leave? I heard her voice on the other side of the phone, and I rolled my eyes. Yes, Rosanna. It's done. Danica's POV. That night, I straightened up my top, gently fluffing out its black frills, then applied my light pink lip gloss. Someone's getting dolled up. I smiled and twirled around. It's nothing much. Aiden is taking me to dinner tonight. Mom clicked her tongue. I figured. You and him have been talking a lot the past week. I glanced at my mom through the mirror. Yeah, I guess so. I added a shrug. By the smug look on Mom's face, she obviously thought something. No, Mom. No. We aren't dating. We're just friends. I said and stepped away from my mirror to my vanity to get my purse. If you say so. Mom mumbled, and I rolled my eyes. There is something I've wanted to talk to you about, though. Mom looked at me with wide eyes, then moved to sit on my bed. That doesn't sound good. Well, it is. I mean, maybe to me rather than you, Mom. I'm... Beep beep. What the heck? Get yourself down here, little missy. Aiden's voice rang out in my head, and I silently cursed him. Talk about bad timing. Aiden? Mom asked, and I nodded. Get going, sweetie. We'll talk later. I hugged my mom and grabbed my flats near the door, quickly putting them on. See you, Mom. I jogged downstairs, then out the door, shutting it behind me. Aiden was leaning against his car, watching me with a smile. You look gorgeous, he said, and I rolled my eyes. Thank you, but I told you 9. It's barely 8:30. Aiden shrugged. I was excited to see you. Besides, now we'll have more time to hang out. Come on, get in. He opened the passenger side door for me, and I thanked him before getting in. He soon got in and started up the car. Ready to go? Ready. I looked at him and smiled. Returning my smile, Aiden backed out onto the road and then drove up onto the street. Even though this isn't a date, it kind of feels like one, and I hope we get no interruptions this time. Chapter 24. An Unwanted Surprise. Why did you take me here? I asked Aiden as I glanced around the dark-themed restaurant. What's wrong with it? He asked and placed his menu down casually while he flagged down a waiter. Aiden, look around. This place is full of couples. I mean, you could have taken me to a pizza place or something. It's true. This place is filled with couples. Holding hands, kissing, touching each other. That couple in the corner is being way too affectionate. Relax, Danica. Most of these people are just friends like us. You get that friendly with all your friends? I asked with a raised brow, and Aiden chuckled. Hello, good evening. May I take your order? A young waitress said softly while she stood by our table with a small notebook in her hand. "Aiden, can we just leave?" I asked, but he rolled his eyes at me and then took my hand. "Come on. Just at least order something. I worked hard to get a reservation here." I sighed and turned to look at the waitress, who looked slightly uncomfortable. Her scent indicated to me she was human. Weird. "I'll have fried rice with chicken and steamed vegetables, please." "Oh, and a slice of cookie cake." The waitress wrote down my order while I struggled to get my hand out of Aiden's, but it's like he had my fingers in a death grip. What the hell is he doing? "I'll have the steamed salmon," he said, and the waitress gave us both a brief nod, then rushed off. "Aiden," I called, and he looked at me. "Can you let my hand go?" "Oh, I'm sorry." He chuckled nervously, then released my hand, and I almost sighed in relief. "Danica," a shrill voice yelled, and I almost jumped out of my seat. It's been so long. I turned to see who it was, and I think the entire restaurant did the same. It was Eileen. Wow, what's she doing here? Eileen. I plastered a fake smile on my face and got up to greet her. She gave me a big hug, then a kiss on both cheeks. "I haven't seen you in forever. I see you have a date," she said, then wiggled her brows at me. "Oh no. He's just my friend. Eileen, this is Dash. Beta Aiden," she finished for me, and I was kinda speechless for a moment. "Alpha Eileen," Aiden said, and with the frown he wore on his face, it was apparent he didn't like her. "You never told me you had found your mate, Aiden, and you, Danica. Never told me you were mated to a beta," Eileen exclaimed in what I think was a seductive tone. "We aren't mates," Aiden and I answered together, and I could have sworn the tone of his voice was angry. "Oh, what a shame. You two look cute together," Eileen said with a shrug. "Why are you here, Eileen?" I asked, hoping to change the conversation. "Oh," she exclaimed and clapped her hands excitedly, "I'm meeting my fiancé here for dinner." "You know he isn't marrying you," Aiden said while he gulped his water. "Lord." I mumbled and scratched my head awkwardly while Eileen glared at Aiden's head. "Shut up, Aiden. You don't know what you're saying. Kaden loves me." The mention of his name sparked my attention. "Kaden?" I asked, and Eileen nodded proudly. "Yes, Alpha Kaden. He's my fiancé." "The heck he is." Aiden coughed. "Your orders." The waitress came back with 2 covered plates in her hand. I won't lie, the thought of Kaden marrying Eileen bothered me a lot. I don't know why. "Danica, you still want to leave?" Aiden asked me, and I nodded. Yeah, let's go see the movie." I grabbed my purse from the table and straightened my dress awkwardly. "Oh, why are you leaving?" Eileen asked, and I held back a scowl. "I'm not all that hungry, plus I don't wanna miss the premiere." Mockingjay Part 2. OMG. Hashtag Hunger Games fan. Maybe we'll meet up again later. Bye, babes. She exclaimed, then blew me a kiss, but I'm just looking at Eileen like she's something out of a Looney Tunes. Bye, Eileen. I gave her a quick wave, then pulled Aiden. "So you don't want your orders?" The waitress asked after being silent for about the past 2 minutes, and I had forgotten about her. "Oh, I'll take them. My date will be here any minute." Danica looks like she has good taste. Eileen grabbed the plates and then put them on the table. I don't know how anyone can deal with her. Aiden sighed quietly while I was deep in thought. "Is your Alpha really marrying her?" I asked him, but he gave me a half shrug. "Last I checked, he wasn't, but we haven't spoken much about it lately, so I don't know. I don't know what it is, but I hope he doesn't marry her." Kaden's POV. I sighed and parked my car a few cars down from the restaurant where I was supposed to meet Eileen. Why am I doing this? I don't know, but I know I already don't like it. As soon as I stepped out of the car, I was slapped. Slapped by the scent that's been torturing me for over a week now. I eyed every person standing on the sidewalk or passing me by. How is it that I always arrive after the scent has gone? I breathed in the strawberry aroma, and it led straight to the restaurant. How ironic. Please don't tell me it's Eileen. Clearing my throat and fixing my tie, I strode into the building. Not even 20 seconds in upon my entrance, I heard the loud cries that could only be Eileen calling me. I made my way over to her, but my focus was on that scent, but it was leading me straight to her. Kaden, I'm so glad you could make it. She screeched, and I avoided the eyes of the people staring at us because of her loud self. Eileen hugged me, and I realized the scent was all over her, but it wasn't hers. And it was all over the table. I'm not going insane, am I? Eileen. Why do you smell like that? I asked her, and she looked at me funny. Like what? Like, I don't know, someone else. She looked like she was thinking for a minute, then she snapped her fingers. Oh well, I saw my best friend, and she hugged me, so her scent must have got on me dash. So Eileen is friends with whoever owns that scent. And she was on a date with your beta and dash. Excuse me? I asked her, did you just say she was on a date with Aiden? Well, she said it wasn't a date, but come on, look at this place. It so was. Eileen exclaimed, then gave me an annoying laugh. Aren't we supposed to be planning our wedding? Eileen said as she sat down and uncovered the 2 plates on the table. I ordered for us, she said, and I eyed her suspiciously. You ordered this? I pointed to the plates filled with the steaming food, and she nodded fervently. Now sit and eat, let's discuss who's going to be on our guest list. She said excitedly, and I groaned. Eileen, I said, and patted the back of her hand while I sat down. She is going to understand tonight that we are not and never will get married. Danica's POV. Did you really have to buy the super large bucket? Of course, Danny. I'm a big boy. I require a lot of food. Plus a certain someone made us miss dinner. We could have stayed if you wanted, I said to Aiden as we entered the movie theater, looking for a seat. Yeah, we could have, but Eileen gets under my skin. You have no idea. He told me, then gave a fake shudder. I giggled and took a seat in the back. Aiden sat next to me and already began munching on his popcorn. Pig much. I punched his arm, then bent down to undo my heels. These things are killing me. Do you have anything planned after the movie, or are you bringing me home after? Aiden didn't answer. Aiden? Still no answer. I finally undid the other heel and then sat upright. Hey, why didn't you answer me? I poked his arm, but he only growled. What's the matter with him? Aiden's eyes were glued to the theater entrance, at a girl who was staring right back at him with her arm linked to another guy's. Mine, Aiden growled lowly, and I opened my eyes wide. Oh no. Chapter 25, An Unwanted Surprise Point 2. Is that my mate? Aiden whispered as he stared at the girl with dark eyes, glaring hard at the man who had his arm around her waist, completely unaware of the killer stare he was getting. The girl looked surprised and forced herself away from the guy. He looked at her, confused, and it seemed like they were talking, but due to the amount of chatter from the people who were still settling in, I was unable to hear what they were saying. But I know for sure she was a werewolf, and so was her little date. The guy turned to look at Aiden and me, then said something briefly to her, and he rushed out of the theater. The girl, remaining standing near the entrance, shyly rubbed her arm. I nudged Aiden, and he glanced at me. Go get her. Aiden kind of frowned, and his eyes returned to their standard color. What about you? This isn't about me, I said. You have a mate now, and that's what you need to worry about. So go get her and link me later with the details. I finished and gave Aiden a slight wink that made him chuckle. We just can't get a date right, huh? He said, then shook his head. Well, that's the thing. This wasn't a date. Go, 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 before she thinks something. I gestured for him to get up and go to the girl who was currently looking at me with narrowed eyes. Thanks, Danny, Aiden told me before giving my hand a quick squeeze, then leaving his seat beside me and heading to his mate. I watched as he approached her. They began to speak for a little bit, and I saw Aiden smile at her, then rub the back of his neck. It was pretty amusing to see a beta shy towards his female equal. Aiden held out his hand to her, and she slowly took it, and they both left. Let's hope he doesn't screw this up. I looked at the giant bucket of popcorn next to me and sighed. I guess it's just you and me, huh? Finally, the room grew quiet, and the lights dimmed as the movie was about to begin. I might as well stay. There is no way I'm wasting that ticket or this popcorn. Kaden's POV. Is this the theater? I asked a good friend of mine, Danielle. Yeah, this is where he came in with some girl. She was pretty, but totally out of his league. She said and shook her head. I had left the restaurant with Eileen a few moments earlier, and to say she was upset would be an understatement. I tried to reason with her, but she was causing a scene, so I left. I don't do scenes. I was tracking down the scent until I spotted Danielle. She told me she saw Aiden and a girl go into a movie theater, so I followed. Aiden might get mad I rained on his date, but he lied to me either way, so I call this even. Thanks, Danielle. I gave her a brief nod, then entered the building. I looked around, but I couldn't really see anyone. The large room was barely occupied, except by those who were behind the snack bars and standing in front of the movie posters, and none of them were who I expected to see. Kaden. I turned around to face my brother. You son of a... You lied to me, Aiden. Lied about what? He asked with a perplexed expression on his face. I pinched the bridge of my nose. Forget it. Where's the girl you came here with? Danica? Why? He asked me, and I soon grew impatient with him. Every moment wasted is a moment I am from finding her. Just tell me where she is. I pushed. Not until you tell me what's going on. Aid crossed his arms and had a hard look on his face. I growled and tried to keep my temper down. Why am I getting so angry at him? I've never gotten this annoyed at him before for such a small reason, but small reasons have huge effects. You remember I told you about that scent I kept smelling? Aiden nodded and I sighed. I think it's from her nose scratch that I know it is because you were with her and you reek of that her scent. Just tell me where she is. He shrugged and pointed to a large, dark gold door across the room. I don't know if she's still there. I left here to go with my mate, so I'm not sure if she left. I raised a brow and smirked. You found your mate? Aiden smiled proudly and nodded. I did. Her name is Dash. That's fantastic, bro, but we'll talk about this later. I gave him a pat on the shoulder and jogged shortly to the door. Excuse me, sir, do you have a ticket? A short red-haired boy asked me, and I growled at the hand he had extended to me. He drew his arm back slowly and took a few small steps away from me and looked straight ahead like I wasn't there. I drew my attention to the door and what was potentially behind it. How would I approach her? I can't just off the bat bring up the fact that her scent is like wolf nip to me or that I've been following it for days now. Okay, no, I can't. I sound like a man obsessed rather than an alpha. I'll just be professional. Yeah, professional is best. I pushed the door slightly, peeking in, and a whiff of her addictive scent hit me like a punch to the face. Perhaps professionalism is being overlooked. Danica's POV. Darn it, PETA. I whispered to myself as I stuffed popcorn in my mouth. Watching this by myself isn't as bad as I thought it would be. It would have been nice if Aiden could have stayed, but I would have never let him. His mate is far more critical than I am. What the heck? I yelled and quickly covered my mouth as a bunch of people shushed me. I sank low in my seat and took a sip of my Pepsi, but nearly dropped it when it hit me. And it hit me hard. Really hard. Strawberries and fresh rain. I averted my eyes around the entire room, scanning through the small crowd of people until my eyes landed on a pair of gray ones. He was standing by the door, staring at me. On a typical day, I would have found this creepy beyond words, but I didn't even care. I put the bucket of popcorn on a seat and my drink in the holder and got up from my seat, my eyes never leaving his. Sit down. Someone whispered, yelled at me, but they sounded so far away. Oh, shut up. I replied and crossed my legs over the person's. The guy looked shocked as well as pleased as he stared at me up and down while I came up to him. I stood before the tall man, in the same state of shock myself. And in that moment, we said the word I never thought I'd hear someone say to me again in my life at the same time. Mate. Chapter 26. Losing her. Danica's POV. So, Aiden's alpha is your mate? I nodded. How the heck did that happen? I don't know, Mom. I didn't even think it was still possible to have a second mate. I mean, I talked to Mama OD, but I still had my doubts. Mom tapped her fingernails against the wooden table and stared at the floor, something she usually does when she's thinking. Where is Kaden? She asked, and I frowned as I recalled what had happened just a few hours ago. He left, I said, and held back the urge to cry. Kaden had turned his back on me and left the theater, leaving me standing there like a complete idiot. It felt like rejection, even though it actually wasn't. For him, I understand. He lost his first mate, and now he has another. It's probably scary for him or frustrating or something. Maybe eventually he'll come around. I hope. What do you mean he left? Mom asked, and I sighed. He left the theater, Mom. He just turned around and walked out. I understand, though. His mate died, so it must be hard to process that he got another one. Mom rolled her eyes and stood up from her chair. That doesn't mean he should have left you there like that. Come on, let's go pay Mr. Alpha a visit. Mom, I said in a warning tone, no. It's all right. I'm gonna give him a chance to let it sink in. Plus, it's late and graduation is tomorrow. Mom sighed and sat back down. All right. Get some rest, sweetie. Good night, Mom. Kaden's POV. How the heck can this happen, Aiden? Danica is your mate, Aide said in a dazed tone, and I nodded as I downed the rest of my wine in my glass and poured another shot. She's your freaking mate. I got the idea, buddy. Thanks. I yelled back at Aiden, who had been in shock since I returned to the house, and told him, it's just a shocker. I didn't think stuff like this still happened. He explained, and I downed my other shot, groaning in annoyance at the now empty bottle. You're talking about you? What about me? I don't want another mate. I growled, then tossed the shot glass on the floor, staring intently at it as it broke into pieces, kinda like my life right now. What the heck are you talking about? Do you know how lucky you are? Aiden stared at me in disbelief, but I avoided his gaze. Do you know how many wolves would love to have the opportunity you have right now? Don't let it go to waste, bruh. What? Are you my psychologist now? I asked, irritated, and moved to the seat near the large glass window, which gave a clear view of the forest and the bright moon before me. Yeah, Aide replied, I am, because you're being too stupid to be your own. Whether you like it or not, you can't change this, Cade. Just accept it. Accept her. Maybe be really happy again for once. I shook my head. I can't accept her. Why? Aiden asked as he shot up from his seat and stood behind me. I could feel his body heat a bit closer, plus the light squeak of the chair provided an indicator. I didn't answer his question, and I could hear him take one more step closer. Why? He asked again, and I shut my eyes tight, silently praying he'd let this go. In that moment, I felt his hand tightly grip my shoulder and forcefully turn me around to face him. Why? Because I can't lose her too. Aiden looked taken aback by my outburst and didn't say anything as I continued to speak. I can't lose her too, not like how I lost Lily. My heart slightly clenched at the mention of my first mate, Lily. I wouldn't be able to handle that again. I won't be able to live with myself knowing I did not just let one die but two. Danny isn't Lily, man. She can handle her own, trust me. You didn't let Lily die. You weren't there, Kaden. You couldn't have stopped it even if you were. Things happen for a reason, and the goddess giving you Danica is for a reason. Don't just let her go. Don't do it for me or anyone else, do it for her. Aiden preached to me and patted my shoulder before heading to the door. But more importantly, he spoke, just as he was about to leave. Do it for yourself. The door closed, and I was left in the pit of my thoughts and anguish. Since when did that jerk become a therapist? Chapter 27: Graduation and Lies. I proudly admired myself in my glowing white gown and white cap in the mirror backstage. Jessica Kingsley. The principal called out to one of the graduates from the microphone to retrieve her certificate. They are doing it in alphabetical order by last name, which means I'm soon. My nerves were all over the place, but I was happy. All my hard work over the years is paying off, and nothing could ruin this day for me. Danica. I turned around to face one of my teachers. Her name was Mrs. Ward, and I hated her like the plague. They're about to call your name. Get out there, she said in her dead monotone voice that made me want to kill something. Giving her a brief nod, I glanced over at myself one last time, then reluctantly left the mirror. Oh, and Danica, good job, Mrs. Ward said softly as I passed her by to head to the stage with a grin on my face. This is it. Danica Monroe. Holding my head high, I proudly walked up onto the stage near my principal. He handed me the medium-sized document that had a red ribbon around it. Congratulations, he said, and I nodded, then said a brief thank you. I looked out to the crowd and spotted my mom and Aiden sitting in the back. Good job, Aiden mouthed to me, and I beamed in happiness. Walking off the stage, I still couldn't believe I was officially done with high school. No more 5 a.m. mornings, annoying classmates, or lame teachers. Well, for now anyway. I planned to attend college, but not immediately. I stripped out of my gown and stayed in my regular jeans and a bullet for my Valentine t-shirt. I made my way through the scattered groups of people who were with those who already got their certificates to my mom and Aiden. "Danny." My mom semi-yelled and engulfed me in a hug, knocking my gown out of my hand, but luckily, Aiden caught it. "I'm glad you guys could make it," I said, and Aiden rolled his eyes. "How could we ever miss it?" he said with a grin and hugged me as soon as my mom got off me. My eyes wandered down to see a bouquet of roses on the chair where my mom was sitting. "Who sent you roses, Mom?" "Oh," she exclaimed and picked up the bundle of white roses and handed it to me. "These are for you, actually. Some girl who said she was from your class brought them to me. She said someone left them backstage for you, but she didn't want them to get lost, so she gave them to me to hold. They're quite pretty." I ran my hand gently over the white petals. There was a small card hidden between one of the petals, and I took it to read it. "You looked beautiful in your gown, Kay." "Kay? Is this from Kaden?" "I hope it is." Glancing over at Aiden, he wiggled his brow, and I shook my head while I sniffed the beautiful flowers. "Mom, these are from... What are you staring at?" I looked up at my mother to see her staring in the opposite direction, and Aiden was now doing the same. I turned my head, and my eyes widened in shock. "Richard." I mumbled, and he was leaning against a tree with his hands deep in his black coat pockets. "What the hell is he doing here?" Aiden growled lowly, and I patted his shoulder. "It's okay," I said, then began to walk towards him, but Mom held me back. "Are you sure that's a good idea, Danica?" "No, but it's bound to happen one day." "I guess it's just sooner than expected." I placed my roses and my gown in her arms and smiled at her. "I'll be okay." "Well, I surely didn't expect to see you again," I said to Richard as I approached him. "I wanted to see you graduate, at least before I leave," he said as he looked me over, a sad expression on his face. My brows furrowed. "Leave? Where are you going?" He shrugged. "I left the pack. Not like I was that welcome anyway since, you know. So I'm just going to leave once your mom gives me the divorce papers. Besides, Aiden hasn't told me where I'm going yet." "Wait. Aiden? Why does Aiden have to tell you where to go?" And from there, Richard began to explain. When he was in the torture chamber, Aiden came to him and told him he had to reject me if he really cared about me, and that Aiden would send him away after the rejection. Believe me, I'm glad for the rejection, but I thought it was on Richard's own terms, not Aiden's. I turned around and scowled at Aiden, who was staring intently at Richard. Aiden has some explaining to do. Chapter 28, Just a Regular Dinner. The next day after graduation. "Mom, can you pass me those plates?" "Here you go, Danny." "Thank you," I said as I placed 2 more plates around the dinner table and straightened the tablecloth. "This dinner was a nice idea, sweetie." "Is it just Aiden coming?" Mom asked, and I shrugged just as the doorbell rang. "Something like that," I replied and opened it. As soon as I opened it, I was greeted by my first guest. "Come on in." "Are you sure about this, Danica?" I waved Richard off and pushed him towards the kitchen. "You're needed here for what I want to do. So don't irritate me and we're good." "Danica, who's it the hell no?" My mom screamed as she caught sight of Richard standing by the door. "Mom, can you know Dash?" "Why the hell is he here?" "For you," Mom asked with a furious expression. "No," I said, "he's Dash." "For me?" "We're done, Richard," she exclaimed, and Richard rolled his eyes. "Nobody wants you," he muttered, and I sighed. "Mom, he's here for a reason." "Please, you'll see why soon. Just don't cause a problem tonight. I know how you feel about his presence right now, and he'll be gone soon." "I swear," I softly said as I rubbed my temples. "Fine," Mom muttered and grumbled her way back to the kitchen. "As for you," I said, turning to face my ex-mate, "just go sit at the table and be quiet. I wouldn't want Mom to stab you with a butcher knife." Richard slowly nodded and headed to sit at the table while I shut the door. Well, almost shut the door. A foot blocked the door from closing, and I reopened it, revealing Aiden and his parents. "Hey, Danny." Aiden chirped and gave me a small wave. "Hey." I replied and gave him a brief smile. Oh, Danny. It's been so long. Aiden's mom literally screamed as she shoved Aiden to the side, almost making him fall, and embraced me in a bone-crushing hug. Rachel. Don't kill the girl, his father said, and yanked Aiden's mom off of me. It's good to see you again, Danica. Likewise. Please come in. I opened the door wider for them to come in, glaring at Aiden for bringing his parents. Mom literally jumped in the car. She really wanted to see you. Dad basically followed. I didn't think it would be a big deal. Aiden said to me via mind link, and I held back on rolling my eyes. Well, dinner should be ready, and I should set up 2 more plates for you too, I said, gesturing to Aiden's parents, so come on to the kitchen. I walked to the kitchen, then slowly opened the door, seeing Richard sitting at the far end and my mom placing the food bowls on the table while glaring at him. What the heck is he? Aiden started to yell, but stopped as soon as he collected a slap to the back of the head from his mother. Language, boy. We aren't at home, and I didn't raise you like an animal. Rachel, Aiden's mom, said with a shake of her head, but her eyes widened when she spotted Richard. Aiden, is that who I think it is? She asked, and he nodded while rubbing the back of his head. Rachel let out a squeal-like noise and then clapped her hands. I watched as she grabbed a dining chair and moved it by the kitchen entrance. Mom, what are you doing? Aiden asked, and his mother slowly sat down, crossing her legs. Well, I think it's better I sit here. For a better view and a quick exit if anything goes down. Just pretend I'm not here, she said and waved her hand in front of her face. I'll be in the living room, his dad said, then left the kitchen. Okay then. I said awkwardly. Aiden, take a seat. Mom, please sit. What's this about, Danica? Why is he here? Aiden asked while sending Richard a death glare, but he just seemed to be ignoring. Deja vu much? Why don't you take a bite of your food first, Aiden, then we'll talk, I said with a smirk. Oh, she's smirking. You're dead, Rachel said, then added a light cough and took a sip of water from a glass. Richard took a bite of one of his dumplings. What did you put in this? My spit, Mom replied, and Aiden spat out the gravy he had drunk back into his soup bowl. I dropped my spoon into my bowl and sighed internally as I struggled to hold in my laughter. Richard's eyes widened as he ceased from chewing, and he also spat back into his bowl. You people are disturbing, Aiden murmured as he pinched the bridge of his nose. Well, I giggled and pushed aside my bowl, grabbed my own glass of water, and took a little gulp. It's about to get more disturbing. Why did you make Richard accept my rejection? Aaron, get in here. It's getting good. And stop blocking me from the link, Rachel whispered to her husband. Leave me out of this. We all heard him yell back. Ugh, jerk, Rachel muttered, and when she noticed us looking at her, she grinned. Proceed. Aiden. I called his name to draw his attention back and let him know I wanted an answer. He began to chuckle dryly and scratch his head, then pointed to my mom. Rosanna made me do it. Snitch. Richard snickered as he looked at the little display intently. Mom? I looked over to her, and she was fixing her hair behind her back. Okay, I told Aiden to talk to Richard about accepting the rejection. I just got so tired of seeing you be hurt and upset because of him. I just wanted him out of your life so you could be happy with someone else. Mom stared at me sincerely as she continued to speak. You've done a lot for me, Danica, and I spent 3 years hurting you in a way a girl should never experience. I can't change the past, but I can work to make it right. I'm sorry for interfering, but I just wanted to help. Well, I can see she meant well, even though it was wrong. The light sound of sniffling drew my attention for a moment as I diverted my gaze to Rachel, who was pulling out a tissue from her purse and wiping her eyes. What? She asked all of us who were staring at her. Mind your business. The sound of the doorbell shocked me for a minute. I'm not expecting anyone else. I'll get it, Aaron yelled. They might as well move in. Danica, I hope you aren't angry with me, Aiden said, and I shook my head. I understand, and it's okay. You both were just looking out for me, thank you, but please don't play God with my life, I stated, and my mom and Aiden nodded. Hug, Aiden said with a little pout, making me giggle and stand from my seat and reach over the table to give him a little hug. "Well, that was easy," Richard murmured and played around with his cutlery. "Why are you touching my mate?" A voice boomed from behind Rachel, who bolted out of her seat by the kitchen entrance and was now near my seat at the table. I quickly released Aiden and stared in shock at the seething Kaden, whose eyes were a killer black. And they were pointed directly at Aiden. "Goddess, can't I catch a break?" Chapter 29, I'm Scared Part 1. "Kaden, calm down." Aaron, who finally decided to bless us with his appearance again, said to Kaden, who was still sending daggers at Aiden. "You're telling him to calm down," Rachel suddenly said while she rubbed her temples, "but I just want to know how the hell this is even possible." "Second chance mates are rare but not unheard of," Aiden said as he ducked a punch that Kaden threw. "Kaden, you are an alpha, not a teenage boy. Calm the heck down," Aaron said sternly to his son, who was growling lowly at being told what to do, and stopped struggling against his father to get to Aiden. Richard, on the other hand, exited out of the back door a few minutes ago. It's bad enough Kaden wanted to kill Aiden. I don't need him to kill Richard right now either. Not that I'd mind that much anyways. "It was just a hug, Cade. Relax," Aiden said. "It would have been a finger shake for all I darn care. Don't touch her," Kaden shouted back. "Kaden." "Language, boy." Rachel snarled, and Kaden's eyes opened wide, and he instantly went quiet. Rachel chuckled and flipped her hair as she strutted out of the kitchen. Mama still got it. "Rachel, get back in here and deal with your sons," Aaron exclaimed with a roll of his eyes. "They're yours tonight," she replied. Aaron let out a quiet cough, then slowly backed out of the kitchen. "You guys aren't mine for tonight either." "Kaden," my mom said as she finally decided to speak up, "didn't you walk out on her the other night? Yet you're here trying to play possessive. It doesn't work like that, hun. You either want her or you don't." "Thank you," I linked to my mother. I couldn't have said it better myself. "I think I better, go check on Adriana," Aiden added as he tried to inch out of the room as far from Kaden as possible. "Who's that?" I asked, and he gave me a snort. "My mate. I'll tell you about her tomorrow. Bye." He gave me a quick wave, then bolted out of the kitchen using his enhanced speed. "Danica." Kaden called to me, and I looked at him to see that he had a hand stretched out to me. "Would you come on a run with me, please?" I nodded fervently, immediately scolding myself for being so fast and desperate. Grabbing hold of his, I gladly welcomed the peaceful feeling that came along with it. "I'll have your daughter home soon, Rosanna," Kaden said as he nodded to my mother, who waved her hand in dismissal while staring at the amount of food on the table. "What am I going to do with all this?" she said with a sigh. "I'm here, aren't I?" We heard Rachel shout from the living room, and Kaden gave a brief chuckle while slowly pulling me out of the back door. "Come on, shift." Kaden began to take off his shirt, and I looked away before I ended up dying from embarrassment from staring at him. He didn't bother to take off his pants as he shifted into his rather large white and gray wolf, causing them to rip to pieces. Rubbing my arm shyly, I was sorta uneasy about stripping in front of him. As if Kaden realized my discomfort, he bowed his head towards his back. "What? You want me to ride on your back?" I asked. Kaden nodded his big wolfy head and lay down on his stomach so I could climb on. Wow, he's serious. I never rode a wolf before. I climbed onto Kaden's back and tightly gripped his fur before I fell off. He rose slowly, making sure I was steady before he let out a loud howl, then ran us into the forest. Chapter 30, I'm Scared Part 2. "Why did you bring me here, Kaden?" "To talk, to make you understand," he replied as he leaned against a large willow tree that stood tall in the middle of a clearing. I sat down with my legs crossed, and I looked up intently at him. "I'm listening." Kaden sighed and sat close to me and looked up into the sky. "I used to have a mate, before you. Her name was Lillian, but I used to call her Lily, like the flower." Kaden blinked a few times before continuing. "I met her a day after my 16th birthday. I loved her so much." I cringed a bit when he said he loved her. I understand she was his mate first, but he is mine too, so it's pretty uncomfortable, but I didn't want to make it known and have Kaden feel some way, so I stayed silent and let him finish. We did everything together and spent every minute together for about a year until I had to become Alpha. Kaden looked down, and I saw his hands ball into fists. I had no choice since it was my birthright, so I accepted the position, and Lily became my Luna. She hated the rank because she felt like everyone thought she was more important than they were, and that always made her mad, but we worked together, made the pack strong, and every single one of them were like family to her. One day, she told me she wanted to go on a little field trip with the pack children. I wasn't going to let her, but she kept begging and pouting. Kaden rolled his eyes and smiled to himself as he recalled the memory of his past mate, so I let her go, and I had to stay back to finish up work. I don't know what happened. One of those kids, her name was Aurora. She's maybe 14 now, came running into the grounds saying, "They caught her. They caught her." I came out and I asked who. She said rogues caught the Luna. I told Lily don't go off pack ground, but she was never one to actually listen to me. I tried calling to her through our link, but she wasn't answering, so I ran as fast as I could. I tried to trail her scent, but I was just so worried I couldn't focus, and then I felt it. Kaden absent-mindedly put his hand over his chest and sighed deeply. "Felt what?" I asked softly, and he turned to look at me with teary eyes. "My heart break," he replied. "Kaden dash." I knew she was gone. I felt it. I felt her slip away, and I hated myself because I was so close yet so far. She needed me, and I couldn't even do my job and protect her. I froze, I couldn't move. Aiden was coming, and he saw me. He asked me what was wrong, and nothing came out. After that, I don't know what happened. I woke up in the hospital wing, and Aiden told me she was killed. She gave her life to save them, and I wasn't even there to save her. Kaden, I said his name, but he refused to look at me. Rolling my eyes at him, I shifted from my sitting position and sat on my knees right in front of him. "Kaden," I called and held his head so he'd look right at me. I could see the pain and frustration behind his eyes, and I only wished I could make it all go away. "It wasn't your fault, Dash." "Yes, it was." He shouted, "If I was there, she wouldn't have had to give her life." "And what would happen to your pack if you did? Your family?" "Lily left loved ones behind too. Yes, but she died for a reason, to protect ones she loved. She didn't die in vain. You have people who look up to you for you to lead them. Do you ever ask yourself maybe why she didn't link you the moment she saw trouble? Maybe she was trying to protect you too, Kaden. Everything happens to a reason, and even if you don't know what type reason is now, you will find out soon enough." Kaden stared at me in silence as I spoke. I knew he was listening. I just wished he'd speak up and say something, anything. "I'm scared," he muttered, and I finally let go of his cheeks, but he didn't break our gaze. "Why are you afraid?" I asked, and he began to fiddle with my fingers. "I'm scared history will repeat itself and I'll lose you too. That's why I left that night. I was scared. I know they say alphas are supposed to be fearless, but Danica, this scares me, and I won't survive if I have to lose you too." "Kaden, you're not going to lose me." "How do you know?" he asked. I smiled at him and intertwined our fingers together. "Because I'm your second chance." I leaned forward and gave him a peck on the cheek. "And you're mine." Chapter 30, I'm Scared Part 2. "Why did you bring me here, Kaden?" "To talk, to make you understand," he replied as he leaned against a large willow tree that stood tall in the middle of a clearing. I sat down with my legs crossed, and I looked up intently at him. "I'm listening." Kaden sighed and sat close to me and looked up into the sky. "I used to have a mate, before you. Her name was Lillian, but I used to call her Lily, like the flower." Kaden blinked a few times before continuing. "I met her a day after my 16th birthday. I loved her so much." I cringed a bit when he said he loved her. "I understand she was his mate first, but he is mine too, so it's pretty uncomfortable, but I didn't want to make it known and have Kaden feel some way, so I stayed silent and let him finish. We did everything together and spent every minute together for about a year until I had to become Alpha. Kaden looked down, and I saw his hands ball into fists. I had no choice since it was my birthright, so I accepted the position, and Lily became my Luna. She hated the rank because she felt like everyone thought she was more important than they were, and that always made her mad, but we worked together, made the pack strong, and every single one of them were like family to her. One day, she told me she wanted to go on a little field trip with the pack children. I wasn't going to let her, but she kept begging and pouting. Kaden rolled his eyes and smiled to himself as he recalled the memory of his past mate, so I let her go, and I had to stay back to finish up work. I don't know what happened. One of those kids, her name was Aurora. She's maybe 14 now, came running into the grounds saying, "They caught her. They caught her." I came out and I asked who. She said rogues caught the Luna. I told Lily don't go off pack ground, but she was never one to actually listen to me. I tried calling to her through our link, but she wasn't answering, so I ran as fast as I could. I tried to trail her scent, but I was just so worried I couldn't focus, and then I felt it. Kaden absent-mindedly put his hand over his chest and sighed deeply. "Felt what?" I asked softly, and he turned to look at me with teary eyes. "My heart break," he replied. "Kaden dash." I knew she was gone. I felt it. I felt her slip away, and I hated myself because I was so close yet so far. She needed me, and I couldn't even do my job and protect her. I froze, I couldn't move. Aiden was coming, and he saw me. He asked me what was wrong, and nothing came out. After that, I don't know what happened. I woke up in the hospital wing, and Aiden told me she was killed. She gave her life to save them, and I wasn't even there to save her. Kaden, I said his name, but he refused to look at me. Rolling my eyes at him, I shifted from my sitting position and sat on my knees right in front of him. "Kaden," I called and held his head so he'd look right at me. I could see the pain and frustration behind his eyes, and I only wished I could make it all go away. "It wasn't your fault, Dash." "Yes, it was." He shouted, "If I was there, she wouldn't have had to give her life." "And what would happen to your pack if you did? Your family?" "Lily left loved ones behind too. Yes, but she died for a reason, to protect ones she loved. She didn't die in vain. You have people who look up to you for you to lead them. Do you ever ask yourself maybe why she didn't link you the moment she saw trouble? Maybe she was trying to protect you too, Kaden. Everything happens to a reason, and even if you don't know what type reason is now, you will find out soon enough." Kaden stared at me in silence as I spoke. I knew he was listening. I just wished he'd speak up and say something, anything. "I'm scared," he muttered, and I finally let go of his cheeks, but he didn't break our gaze. "Why are you afraid?" I asked, and he began to fiddle with my fingers. "I'm scared history will repeat itself and I'll lose you too. That's why I left that night. I was scared. I know they say alphas are supposed to be fearless, but Danica, this scares me, and I won't survive if I have to lose you too. Kaden, you're not going to lose me." "How do you know?" he asked. I smiled at him and intertwined our fingers together. "Because I'm your second chance." I leaned forward and gave him a peck on the cheek, "and you're mine." Chapter 31 What? Part 1. Is he treating you good? Of course. It's been a few days since we've had our little heart-to-heart, and he's coming around slowly. I confided somewhat sadly to Richard. We were sitting about half a mile away from the pack borders, in my haven. My alpha said I could no longer bring him into pack territory, so we met up here to talk. A part of me will always care about him, no matter how badly he messed up. He was my mate after all. The bond between us might be broken, but hey, I'm not entirely heartless. It's nice to know that he's at least okay. Being a rogue is not easy, I assure you. "That's good," he replied. "Maybe we shouldn't talk about this." I rubbed my arm oddly, and he sucked his teeth. No. It's fine, and I'm fine. Trust me. You deserve this." Richard gave me a flash of a smile before he got up and cracked his neck. I'd better be going. "Yeah, I better go too." "Finally meeting Aiden's mate today," I said excitedly. He's been going on and on about Adriana for a long time and begged me to meet her today. Kaden would be there too, since he hasn't actually officially met her either. "You'll let me know how that goes." "Danica, right?" "It's nice to meet you." Adriana said to me as she extended her hand for me to shake. Adriana, Aiden and I were sitting in a small bistro. I nearly turned around and left when I entered because the two were showing enough PDA to blow up the USA. Likewise, I replied and gladly shook her hand. Aiden talks about you a lot. She laughed and nudged Aiden with her shoulder, blowing her mind. Huh, honey? Aiden chuckled shyly and looked down as a light blush came to his cheeks. Well, she seems nice. Is Kaden still coming? I asked Aiden as I sipped my mocha latte. He shrugged his shoulders and played with Adriana's fingers. He told me he had a few things to take care of before he came. Why don't we order some food to go and go back to the pack? But we just got here, Adriana whined, and a sudden stab of irritation hit me. No, it's okay. I'll go, I said as I picked up my drink cup and stood up. You two stay here and enjoy yourselves. You sure, Danny? It's no problem, really. Aiden replied, but before I could reply, Adriana spoke. She said it's okay, baby. Let her go. Danica, it was nice meeting you. We should do this again. I narrowed my eyes slightly at the curly-haired brunette and just waved as I turned to leave. Okay, maybe she isn't that nice. I knocked on Kaden's office door somewhat eagerly. I hope I'm not disturbing him from his work. Linking him didn't work since he had blocked himself off, so I had to get Aiden to link his guards to let me through. I was currently standing behind his door, wearing a towel that a female pack member had given me. Common sense didn't hit me fast enough to tell me I should have taken my clothes off, then shifted before I ran here. Danica? I heard a shrill voice behind me, and I silently cursed myself for not taking her scent earlier. Slowly, I turned around and fake grinned. Hey Eileen, what the heck are you doing here, girl? And why are you in a towel? She asked as she eyed me up and down. Came to see Kaden and my clothes ripped. Forget to take them off before shifting. I replied while glancing at Kaden's office door. I don't think he's in there, honestly, but I'm not about to get lost in this pack house looking for him. Oh, she exclaimed and laughed loudly before pulling a short silk dress out of her side bag. I always keep it in case of emergencies. Here, you have it. Slowly, I took the dress and cringed. Today was not the day I felt like wearing a dress. Thank you. No problem. What are besties for, right? She nudged my arm. Oh, I have the wedding invite for you, by the way. I was hoping I'd see you soon. Eileen dug around in her purse while my eyes widened in shock. Is she still? No, it can't be. Oh? Wedding? To who? I asked, praying she didn't say his name. Oh, she bit her upper lip while searching, then smiled as she pulled out a small, light brown paper with a gold ribbon on top of it. Kaden, of course. And it was in that moment. I snapped. Chapter 32, what? Part 2. I'm sorry, but could you repeat that in my better ear? I asked Eileen as I tilted my head to the other side and leaned closer to her. What? I'm marrying Kadash. That's what I thought you said. Eileen, I backed away a little from her and tightly gripped my towel. Please don't make me catch a case. Eileen stared at me with a lost expression while I was fuming. I don't see why my wedding is making you so mad. I mean, if you don't like the color of the invite, I can get it changed for you. Eileen eyed the invite with narrowed eyes. Color of the invite? Color of the invite. I asked as I began to laugh uncontrollably. Eileen raised a brow at me and wagged her finger in my face. We might be besties, Danica, but watch how you talk to me. I am an alpha. We were never besties. This is only one, and it sure as hell isn't on my side. I noticed Eileen slightly turn a light shade of pink. You are no longer invited to my wedding, she said in a high-pitched tone. Forget you and your imaginary wedding, Eileen. He isn't marrying you, and he never was. So whatever cloud you're on, I suggest you come back down because it's got you messed up as well as me. Eileen growled at me, and I tightened my towel, preparing myself for anything she might throw at me. Goddess only knows how I have the restraint not to jump her. You like him, don't you? She asked. Well, you can't have him, he's mine. Listen here, he is Dash. I was cut off by the sudden impact of a punch Eileen threw that nearly knocked me off my feet. I glared at her and spat a small pool of blood that was gathering in my mouth in her face, and she screamed. Goddess, forgive me for this. Kaden's POV. Alpha, there was a young female here looking for you. A pack member told me as I opened the door to the pack house. I immediately knew it was Danica, due to the scent. Yes, thank you, Ophelia. Where is she? I asked the young girl who pointed up. I think she's in your office. Thank you, I said and began to walk up to my office, anxious to see my mate. Oh, and Eileen was looking for you again. Ophelia called out, and I frowned to myself. I had made it clear to Eileen that I was not going to marry her. She acts like a deranged female, coming back rejection after rejection after rejection. It's insane. Well, Eileen is insane. I've been trying to get in contact with her father to tell him that there will never be a wedding, but I always get a he's busy or he's out of town kind of response from his pack. So I think it's pretty safe to say the guy is avoiding me, but no worries. I'm just waiting on the day I have no work to complete to go down to his pack personally and, well, you can't have him, he's mine. I stopped dead in my tracks at the shrill, irritating voice that could only belong to Eileen. This girl just gave up. I listened attentively to see if she spoke again, so I'd know exactly where she was. Eileen's scent was scattered all over the place, meaning she had been all over my pack house. Great. My guards do their job, trust me, but Eileen has been coming here so much and so often, I think they've given up on driving her away. Wait, Danica is here, and Eileen is here. Oh heck. Danica's POV. Get off of me. Chapter 33, Richard's Heart. Richard's POV. I squatted low on the tree branch and watched her. She was sitting on the porch in her little shorts and a tank top. I smiled to myself. She made anything she wore look beautiful. Her hair was over one shoulder, and she was looking out into the forest before her. I don't know if she was in thought or just zoned out. I've made many mistakes in my life that I never regret, but messing up to the point where she hated me is my only regret. Her face broke out into a smile, and I sighed deeply as I saw why. Kaden emerged from the forest wearing some basketball shorts, and she ran up to him, wrapping her arms around him, and he around her. Thank goodness I masked my scent. I looked away. Sure, our bond might be broken, but that doesn't mean I'll stop caring. That doesn't mean I'll stop loving her because I know I could never bring myself to stop caring for her. I turned my head and looked back. They were talking, but a bit too softly for me to hear right at my distance. She was laughing though. I listened to that for sure. Aiden has been trying to contact me, but I keep him blocked out. He wants to keep me far away from him. But that's too far from her. I live in the town around the humans, which is a reasonable distance from the pack. That's far enough. Kaden cupped her face and pressed his lips to her forehead and whispered something to her. Something I knew I probably wouldn't like to hear, but whatever it was, put a grin on her face and she nodded. He gave her another smile, then ran back into the woods. I'm assuming maybe he's going to his pack. I checked the time on my watch. It's almost the time when Danica meets me in her spot for a little while so we can talk. The goddess knows how much I love those few minutes with her. She did the same and began to jog towards my direction. I waited until she passed by the tree I was on and continued to jog until she reached her destination. I climbed down quietly and waited a few minutes before heading after her. When I arrived, she was sitting down, her head resting on her knee. Danica looked up and gave me a wide smile. Hey, she said, and I smiled back. Hey, how are you, Richard? She asked me, and I just nodded for a few seconds. I'm all right. How is everything on your end? I asked her back, and she wrinkled her nose. So. It's getting better. The genuine smile she had on her face when she looked up assured me that everything really was falling in place for her. I was happy for her, really I was, but a part of me just wished everything could fall into place with me in it. But this is life, and you don't always get what you want. I learned that the hardest way a man ever could. Losing the love of his life to his own stupidness. As much as I dreaded asking this question, I wanted to show Danica that I really do care about her, so I said, "How's everything with Kaden?" I noticed her hesitancy in answering, so I sat beside her and nudged her gently with my elbow. You can tell me. Slowly, Danica began to talk about how things were going between her and him, as well as the little problem she had encountered with a girl the previous day. The more she said his name, the more I felt a little piece of my heart break. It's not easy listening to the girl that you love talk about her growing romance with another man, but my feelings don't matter. Hers do. I cared about my own feelings too much all those times I kept her from rejecting me to protect my own feelings. Even though I was thinking about her in my mind, I now realize I never was, and that alone was my biggest mistake with her. I was selfish and I was a cold-hearted bastard, but I never lied when I told her I was sorry all those times or that I loved her. But with the way I was acting, I wouldn't have believed myself either. The kind of pep she had while she spoke was something I had never seen before for a very long time. This glow she has in her now, I never really saw that either. Danica is happy, genuinely happy, and I couldn't ask for anything more. She would tell me that I would move on one day, but even I know I could never care for another woman the way I care for her. I will always be there for Danica. I'll be there for her like I was supposed to from the start. Chapter 34, Like Baby. I mumbled the lyrics softly to myself of the song Castle of Glass by Linkin Park as I rummaged through my closet for an outfit for my date with Kaden tonight. Earlier, I had mentioned to him that I wanted him to come back to my pack afterwards to clear up a few questions that I still have, if there was time. A light knock came on my door, and when I realized who it was, I shook my head with a smile and went to open it. Just dropping by? I asked Aiden, who gave me a brief nod and grin. I moved to the side to let him in, and he sat on a chair near the corner of my room. I kinda need help choosing an outfit. Let me see your options, he said, but the lack of usual enthusiasm in his voice had me raising a brow. Oh, what's wrong? I laid down the 3 dresses in my hand on the bed and stood near him with my hand on my hip. He gave me a dry chuckle and ran a hand down his face. That obvious? I nodded and gestured for him to speak, and he sighed, sinking into the chair. Adriana's been distant in a way. She's close as heck one day, then the next she barely wants to be around me. I brought her to meet my parents last night, and my mom hated her. I literally hated her. As soon as Adriana came through the door, it was like bam. Mom stopped smiling, she looked super creeped out and just left the room. I swear I was raising my eyebrows so high they must be touching my forehead. Rachel got freaked out? By what force? That's what I'm saying. She does the creeping out, not the other way around. I crossed my arms and wrinkled my nose a little. Did your mom say why? Aiden shrugged. All she said afterwards was that something wasn't right about her. I didn't want to think much of it, but everyone in the pack who's seen her have that same freaked out look on their face. I didn't though when I met her. Although she is a bit off, I admitted, causing him to slap his palm on his forehead. You know what? Aiden said as he stood up and cracked his neck. We can talk about this another time. Do you still need help? There we go. He'll love you, Aiden said as he finished my makeup. I didn't know you could do makeup. I looked up at him with a smirk. He laid down my makeup kit on my vanity and flexed his muscles. I'm the full package. I rolled my eyes playfully and admired myself in the mirror. Aiden gave me a smoky eye look, complimented with a very light blush and lip gloss to match my outfit. Danica, are you ready? Kaden's voice rang in my head, and I replied a moment later. Yeah, I'm ready. Well, I better leave before he shows up here. He's still a little mad at me, Aiden said, rubbing the back of his neck. That might be best. Call me later. Definitely, he replied and gave me a brief wave before quickly leaving the room. My mind wandered back to what he told me about Adriana and his mother. It's just too unusual, and Rachel can be a lot of things from what I've seen, but not that unusual. I made a mental note to ask Kaden what he thought about Adriana, but maybe not tonight. Aiden's POV. Adri, can you please tell me what's wrong? I begged as I leaned my head against her door in frustration. After I left Danica's a few hours ago, I ran in wolf form to the nearest human town, where Adriana lived in an apartment building. There are some things about her that I don't understand. She isn't a part of a pack, but she isn't a rogue because she doesn't smell like one. I'm trying to take things slow and gradually work my way up to asking her about it, but she's like a darn switch, and that makes it more difficult because of her sudden mood changes. Please, Aiden. I just want to be alone right now. I'll call you later tonight. She replied from behind her door. See what I mean? Adriana, please. You need to talk to me. If it were my mother, then. The door was suddenly pulled open, almost making me fall flat on my face since I was still leaning against it, but I caught myself in time. I looked at her, and her hand was covering her mouth. Are you? Bad toothache. She replied before I could finish. Please, Aiden. We'll talk tomorrow. Sighing in defeat, I nodded slowly, and she shut the door. As I left the apartment building, I couldn't help but think of almost every possible reason as to why she was acting like this. And I only hoped it wasn't the reason I think it might be. Chapter 35. This is it. Come on. Just a little farther, I said as I jumped over a fallen log. Where are you taking us? My mother asked. That's what I want to know. Aiden muttered while he trudged behind lazily. Let's say he's a little cranky because I woke him up from his nap. Kaden rolled his eyes and continued to walk beside me without complaint. Since our date last night, he's been in a perfect mood. However, he too had no idea where I was taking all of them, but it was nothing bad. Actually, it was to help all of us. The date we had was great, but nothing out of the way or spectacular. A simple dinner and a walk around the Riverlane Park. He had told me he wasn't big on romance, but I didn't mind. I'm just glad we had no disturbances or any unwanted surprises. I nudged Caden's shoulder, and he looked over at me. Thank you for not complaining like these two. Heard that, Aiden said, and I chuckled. You're welcome, Kaden replied, but I am curious just as much as they are. Where are you taking us? I shrugged and didn't reply as we trudged on. Here we are, I said as we stepped into my haven. This is a special place to me. I've known it for years, and it's always given me solace and comfort. I finished as I gently brushed my fingertips along the petals of the white roses. This place is beautiful, my mother muttered. I nodded proudly as they stood admiring the ample space, except Aiden, since he's already been here once. So this is what you wanted to show us? Kaden asked, and I wrinkled my nose. So. Can you all sit? I asked, and Aiden slightly groaned and mumbled about having to dirty his clothes because he didn't have any extras. It's the forest, idiot. There's extra all over the place in the trees. Now sit down, Kaden said with an eye roll, and Aiden sat down with a loud grunt. Mom sat quietly on her knees, and Kaden was squatted down with his hands clasped. Now what? My mom asked. Come on. I shouted with my head down, come on down. I know you're watching. Who are you, Dash? The branches a bit ahead of us began to rustle, and a few leaves fell to the grassy floor, and then down came Richard, landing perfectly on both feet. Oh goodness, not again, Mom muttered. Seriously, Danica? Kaden asked with a growl, and I held up my hands. He's not here to cause any trouble, Dash. I don't even know why you called me, Richard said, cutting me off. He's needed here with all of us. Because I have something to say to each of you, including him. So please, no fighting. I finished. Aiden raised a brow but didn't say anything more. Kaden looked at me, and I could tell he was really annoyed that Richard was here, but this was important and might very well be the last page in our lives. Chapter 36, A New Leaf. You guys are family. I looked at each of them and paused when I got to Richard, including you, Richard. Kaden wore a scowl on his face, and I sighed. I know all of you hate him, and trust me, I hated him for a while too, but think about this, especially you, Kaden. If him and I didn't reject each other, you probably wouldn't have ever met, and you wouldn't have the chance you have now to have another mate. Kaden's facade turned from a scowl to something more sympathetic as he realized what I said. And Aiden, you probably wouldn't have met Adriana when you did if it wasn't for the rejection either, and taking me out afterwards. Still mad about that, Kaden muttered, and Aiden scoffed. It was before your time, Aiden said with a laugh, making Kaden roll his eyes. Sure, he caused me pain and to my mother as well, but he isn't a bad guy. He cares, and I know it's weird. Me being friends with my ex-mate, but he will always be a part of my life whether I want him to or not, and I can't hate him forever. I want to keep him in my life as a friend. Honestly, I wouldn't ask this of you guys to agree to keep your lives as well, but it will be a means of moving on from the past and getting on with our lives. Aiden was leaning against a tree with his arms folded, sporting a somewhat contented facade. He looked over at me and gave me a nod, then a short smile afterwards. My mother, however, had a frown. Of course, I'd expect her, besides Kaden, to be the one who disapproved most of my decision to keep Richard in my life. But if I could try to get over it, being the one who was hurt the most in the situation, then I believed she could too. I gave her a pleading look, and she looked away for a moment before she turned back and, with a roll of her eyes, gave a reluctant nod. My focus now trailed over to Kaden, who was squatting, glaring at Richard. I gave him a light hit on the knee, and he looked over me. Kaden sighed and stood up, and slowly strode over to Richard, who was standing a bit away from all of us, watching. The two eyed one another for a few minutes, and Kaden shocked us all by stretching out an arm to Richard. Richard watched Kaden's outstretched hand, then took it a few brief moments later. "I'm doing this for her," Kaden said, making me smile, and Richard nodded. "Me too." 2 months later. "Oh, come on. That's cheating," Rachel yelled as she threw the dice on the floor. "You're just mad you're about to be short $200. Aaron yelled back, grinning at his seething wife. Rachel might be an extremely sarcastic person, but her competitiveness is like, wow. Watching Kratos fight with Zeus? Kaden whispered in my ear as he slid his hands around my waist. Yes, but who is who? I whispered back with a giggle and sipped from my glass of water. "Oh, I think you can figure that out," he replied as he kissed his mark on my neck. "Alpha Kaden. Alpha Kaden." A little girl screamed as she ran up to both of us. "What's up, Marcy?" Kaden asked her as he stooped down to her level. "Everyone wants to know when you and Luna are going to have a little baby. We want a new playmate." She pouted as she referred to us as the small army of kids who stood behind her. "Soon." I answered, "Soon. Come play with us," Marcy said as she yanked on Kaden's arm, dragging him outside with the others. I smiled and looked around, and to my awe, I saw Richard talking to one of the older females in the pack. Her name was Sophia, I believe. He glanced over at me, and I raised my glass at him, showing him my approval, and he laughed before focusing back on the woman who seemed to have stolen his eye. Unfortunately, Aiden couldn't be here. He and Adriana are still having problems. I know he's worried about her, but she won't talk to him about whatever could be wrong with her. But whatever it may be, I hope it sorts itself out. And soon.